Hey everyone, welcome back to the Keep Watching podcast, where we decide what to watch so you don't have to. I'm James,
And I'm Sarah.
and today we're going to be watching and talking about episode 20 of Transit Love 2, the final episode. Let's go.
Oh man. I gotta
We
say,
made it.
it feels good to be right.
It's good. Yeah. You got the, yeah. I got the Wanbin right though, watch out. Okay.
You did. That's the only one I got wrong.
Oh yeah, I guess you got it. Yeah, I guess you got everything right. I have some questions on some people didn't really choose. That's in my opinion.
Well, yeah.
Based on the final, we'll get into the whole final decision and how
Yeah.
that works. Some people didn't have to choose, and other people had to choose before other people had to choose.
It was weird. Yeah.
So I don't know, but all right, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this actually. Yeah, I was legit
Yeah.
like, so the way I watch this show, or the
Mhm.
way I get prepared for the podcast in general, is like I'll watch when I get time during the day. I'll watch the shows, but then at
Mhm.
like a certain time in the afternoon, I have to like stop wherever I am and go pick up my kid from school.
Yeah.
And like I was in the middle of like the Hay and Guman shit when I had to leave and pick up my kid for school. And man, what a cliffhanger to end on. Like, nobody had decided anything yet, and I was like, "This is good."
Yep.
Like, I was like, I was actually like, really looking forward to getting back to watching the show, but I had to stop. But okay,
They pulled you in at the
they
end.
got me. No, that the Hay and Guman story. Okay. Well, I guess we'll get into it as we go. I cannot believe the Hay and Guman, and maybe it's because of all the shit Guman was connected to in the show, but
Mhm.
I can't believe that wasn't like the final decision of the show, but maybe that just logistically it couldn't have been that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because to me that was like
Mhm.
way better TV, way better content
Yeah.
than Hidu Nyan. So, all right, let's get the listener comments though.
Yeah.
Overall, everybody was super supportive this week.
Oh yeah, everybody is so sweet and nice.
After we opened up about our worries about people maybe hating us in secret last episode. Everybody's super supportive. At least the people that left comments. I'm sure everybody's actually very supportive. The comments are super long also, so I will not be reading every. I just had to pluck like some of the sentences out of the very nice comments that people left. So
Yeah, our comments are proportional to our episode length. this
yeah,
time,
that's
I feel.
actually true. That's actually true. So Jinhwan on YouTube left a suggestion for us to watch actually.
Mhm.
They suggest watching Love After Divorce, which is on Netflix right now. I'm assuming, I haven't watched it. I'm assuming it's like Heart Signal but with divorced people.
Yeah, I saw the little trailer thing on Netflix, and yeah, that seems accurate.
It's I think it's season 4 that is on Netflix right now, which is what Jinhwan is
Yeah.
suggesting. It has like 2 more episodes before the season is done, and it's like a 14 episode show.
Mhm.
And the season 4 is like Korean people that live in the US. So I think the show is actually filmed in the US. I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's what it
I
looks
haven't
like.
again, I haven't watched it, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
What do you think of this concept of watching the show but with divorced people?
I mean, sure, let's go.
It's not divorced
normally
people.
these shows don't. Well, I mean, it's not like divorced couples.
It's not
just
divorced people
divorced-
and their
yeah,
exes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And you usually these shows are just very young people, and maybe they don't always have the best dating skills in terms of being a reasonable adult. So I'm excited to see like older, more mature people who will probably act silly anyway. But I can hope they're going to be reasonable.
Yeah, I am actually interested to see how it would differ. Less of them like being divorced, but more of just like being like a slightly. I don't know how old they're gonna be actually, but
Yeah, I guess I just assumed they were an older age bracket.
yeah, I guess I assumed they'd be like upper 30s mostly, but I guess they doesn't
Yeah.
have to be that way.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm kind of interested in the age difference just to see. Yeah, like you were saying, like maybe a maturity difference. Divorced people also like I feel like when like 2 divorced people dating each other could have like a greater potential of actually having like a long-term relationship afterwards. Just because I feel like
Yeah.
going through a divorce,
Learn
it's
from
like, yeah.
previous relationship. Yeah.
Well, that and just like it's like a common experience. It like
Oh, that's
to
true too.
go
Yeah.
through a divorce, I guess. So they're like, I don't know, there'd be like some understanding, everybody
Mhm.
going into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be interesting. Sarah, are you aware of the the talking about the age thing? Are you aware of the current season of The Bachelor that is going on right now?
I think I saw an ad for it.
Okay.
It's like it it's older people. I
Yeah.
don't know what age range that is.
It's called The Golden Bachelor.
So does that
Do you,
mean what does that mean?
do you want to
How old are the
do you want to fair a guess as to the age of The Bachelor on the season of The Golden Bachelor?
Okay, so it's a dude who's the single one
Yeah.
picking women.
The
Okay.
Bachelorette is
So
the
he's probably pushing 70, and they're all probably, the women are probably like barely 50 because of the patriarchy or some bullshit.
Oh,
Is my
okay.
guess going into
Damn, you
it.
guessed way higher than I would have guessed. Yeah, he's actually
Okay.
71.
Okay.
That's crazy.
And the women? None of the
Um,
women are close to
I
70,
quickly
right?
scrolled through the age of the women like a little bit ago. There were definitely women that were in their 70s, but some of them might have been in their 60s. I don't know if I saw a 50. But
Okay,
maybe
okay.
there is one in their 50s.
Then I apologize to the Bachelor producers for my assumption.
I would hope that at that point, like, everybody should be retired. Like, nobody should be working anymore, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're like 61 and you're the youngest person on the show, like, you're probably you retired early, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
it seems a little odd. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not gonna watch The Golden Bachelor. But I just every time I see an ad for it, I'm like, The Bachelor has come a long way now that it's. Because at first when they did ads for it, I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like, the people that used to watch this back in the day are older. Like, they want to see older people. But then I was like, oh, wait, he's 71? That's way older than I thought he was. He looks really young for 71. I'll give him that.
But if they made a big deal about it being the old people Bachelor, and then they were all like in their late 30s, I would be very pissed.
No, I thought it would be like 45-ish area. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't follow The Bachelor. I didn't know like what the oldest Bachelor was prior to this guy, so I don't know. But
yeah.
yeah, so I'm interested in it. It's 14 episodes, and they're this normal like 90-minute length, like that these shows are. So we can't watch the whole season prior to when we think Singles Inferno starts. So I don't really want to like commit to watching all of it.
Yeah, I think we're definitely gonna check it out as individuals just watching TV, and then see logistically what might make sense for the podcast and the time we have.
I don't know how many. It depends when Singles Inferno comes out, but I don't know how many podcasts we'll have between now and Singles Inferno. But potentially we could just talk about the first episode and get a taste of what the show is,
and then maybe be ready for when the next season happens, and we could do it live.
Oh yeah, we could do next season live if the timing works out. Yeah. So yeah, Jinhwan and anybody else that might be interested in Love After Divorce, let us know your thoughts and how you think we would. Maybe would you want us to do multiple? If you want us to talk about the whole season, like episode, we wouldn't be able to do that right away. So yeah. Whatever thoughts.
I really wish Netflix would put us out of our misery and just tell us when Singles Inferno 3 is coming out.
Yeah, don't worry, it's still coming on its way. All right, and then I think we asked for people to give us their perspective on what the audience opinion was on the contestants on Transit Love 2, as compared to ours, especially, I guess. AH says they're definitely Team Haeun over Team Guman. They didn't say it like word for word like that, but that was essentially. I mean, I don't know if anybody's like, if you have to choose between Haeun and Guman, I think I'm choosing Guman at this point. That's how I feel. Not that I'm particularly thrilled about either of them. Oh, you're actually Team Guman as well, if you have to choose.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, yes, I was rooting hard for this, Haeun picking somebody else and having a fairy tale ending or whatever, but not because I inherently liked her, just because I thought it was possible and I wanted her to stop crying. She has annoyed me a lot this entire season and has had a lot of unreasonable expectations of Guman, despite his general shiftiness.
So H was a vote for Haeun over Guman, which I feel like that's the vibe, and other people have comments as well that we'll get to.
Oh yeah, I have been unleashed on the internet now. Now that we've watched it, I could go on Twitter and check out.
Oh really? Okay. You
because before I was just posting our preview out there and like not actually clicking on the hashtag because I did not want to know. It seems like people like Haeun. People like Haeun a lot.
Okay. That's the scoop then. Yeah. my way of looking at it when it comes to Han and Guman is like, if you had to date one of them, Sarah, who are you choosing? And for anybody that's Team Han over Team Guman, I mean,
Well, see, the problem is I've now seen Scary Hayun, right? If I just met Pleasant Hayun out in the wild,
no, after watching the show, no, yeah,
Yeah, so-
like take away their looks, like that's you don't that be a factor into your decision. Like,
oh yeah.
I'm
I'm
not,
not talking about
like-
that, but I just mean like personality wise,
Yeah.
like
no, yeah,
I know too much about Hayun to agree to
okay.
that potential scary time after it ends or whatever, you know?
And I guess that's like for the perspective I have when ultimately I like. It's not that I think either of them are particularly good. It's just like ultimately I think Human is more dateable, so I side with it.
I see it as like if I broke up with Human, I could just leave and I'd never hear from him again and it'd be fine.
That's true too. Yeah, that's
You know what I mean?
That's a great point.
If things went south with Hayun, I mean, you know, if she had been into it from the beginning, that's a rough escape. So that colors my choice a lot.
Okay. Okay. All right. Camille left a comment. They gave an opinion on why they like this show more than other shows, but that's also something we were looking for. They think like this show is more raw than other shows, and it's not all rainbows and butterflies.
That's true.
I agree with the
Very
rainbows.
true.
I agree with the rainbows and butterflies part, and I prefer the rainbows and butterflies. Which
I
is,
do enjoy rainbows
yeah.
and butterflies.
Using the word raw is kind of interesting choice because now that I've seen the last episode of the show, like there are some very like real moments with. I mean, the Guman Heian stuff at the end of this is like maybe one of the best reality TV moments. Like, regardless of how I feel about either of them, like there's some real emotion going on in these scenes. But in terms of like raw, to me, it's like this show's almost like less raw in a sense because like these relationships have been baking for so long that they're like they're not new. Like the other shows are like maybe it's just a choice of words that I guess I'm disputing, but the like when it's a new relationship that feels raw to me. It's just whatever you prefer. Like I prefer like the young love, like early love stages of relationships, I guess, more than these deep into the I mean, this like every relationship, has, moments like maybe not as bad as these moments, but we're just watching that on TV, but it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
New commenter Alien on YouTube. I also believe Jin Huan was a new commenter. Alien on YouTube. Yes. I guess you already gave us the scoop on Han, but Alien said, I think the majority root for Han and hate on Guman, but personally, I can relate and understand Guman's behavior so much more, and I don't think he deserves that much hate if compared to what Han did to cause him a hard time in the show. Other than the roof talk, I think that's referring to they were talking on the roof and then he went to get Nyan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Guman did anything truly inappropriate to Han, and I think that the show cuts off more scenes where he's nice and normal to her because that helps build the story at the end of the episode. Even with what was shown, I find Guman actually thinks for Han more than she does for him. I thought that was really interesting comment because, like, that's like kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably debate forever, like who was worse to who or whatever. It's just like whatever, however you see it. So like that doesn't really matter. But this idea that like, I like this comment idea that like who actually thought about the other person's feelings more on the show. Like,
I mean, literally, she never thought about his
feelings. That's what I was thinking.
She was just like, you are being mean to me and I am sad.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. At least that's all we got. And I guess that's all that mattered for the story. Guman was like not good at like getting the goal. Whatever he was trying to do, like it did not get to the goal he wanted, at least the way he's going to explain himself in the end. But theoretically,
he was trying not to hurt her.
Theoretically, he was trying. You could definitely argue like, oh, he's just saying he was doing it to make her feel better, but actually he wanted her to like feel sad about
go away so he could date someone else. Yeah, the way the whole show is edited, it makes it feel like it is just a bullshit excuse, but I think there is some legitimacy there. He just fucked up the execution pretty badly.
Yeah.
And Heian was not somebody who that was ever going to work on, is also a big part of that.
I don't think
equation.
like Heian ever really thought about, at least in what we were shown, like Heian never really thought about how she was affecting Gyumin.
She thought more about how she was affecting Nyan than she thought about how.
Yeah,
she was
that's
affecting
definitely,
Gyumin.
at least from what we saw, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that was an interesting perspective. That
Yeah.
I think I might actually agree with that. All right, and then Interregnum left us a comment. Oh no, Alien also said also thinks the K viewers were supportive of Hidu and Nyan. Did you do any Hidu Nyan hashtags, Sarah, when you were looking?
I did not notice any Hidu like Nyan like chatter in the recentness of just the cursory look of the hashtag I went through.
Okay.
But it does seem like they are both like still doing things and people are aware of them, you know, like she's doing her TV stuff or modeling or whatever, you know, like that's like they still exist in the
They
public
exist,
face.
not together though.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, you want who's still together talk?
Did you look
'Cause
this up?
I
Oh no,
got
let's do it at the end. Let's
six
save
months.
it. Save
I
it.
got 6-month-old info, but it's what I
No,
got.
Save it.
Okay.
Save it.
Okay, I'll
When was
save
this?
it.
The show was 2022. I don't know what time it was filmed and aired in 2022, but
Yeah, so I have like beginning of 2023 knowledge.
okay.
Where my
Let's do it at the
intel
end because
stops.
they're gonna do a bit of a. I haven't seen other shows do this. I guess that's because maybe they don't have a reunion show for this, but they do a little bit of like a where are they now
Yeah,
at the end of this.
and if they're still together or whatever, sort of.
Save that for the end. I'm curious. I don't want to know until we get there.
Okay.
I believe though that the like Korean viewers might have been supportive of Hidu and Nyan as much as we've shit on them on this podcast.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, you like especially towards in this I guess at the very end of this, like they're definitely trying to leave a good taste in your mouth with Hidu and Nyan, right? Like I still think it's awkward, but that
I mean,
the
I
show
still
is
have the
trying
bad
to do that.
aftertaste
Okay.
of like like 10 to 12 episodes of Hidu just being an absolute ass. Like they can't just erase that in the final episode for me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Interregnum left a comment and suggest doing a cast assessment like we did for Heart Signal instead of like any like
Oh, if they're good cast, bad cast, yeah.
instead of any like ranking of how like our actual personal opinions of them, but we'll talk about it in the casting concept. I like that idea. Let's do that. I
Okay.
can do that. Okay,
Let's do it.
That. All right. And Interactive's also looking forward to our After Signal podcast, which we'll be doing next episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
Have you started watching After Signal yet, Sarah?
I have not.
Okay.
Okay, start this weekend.
I have watched 2 episodes of After Signal.
Good vibes?
Yeah, I like it. I'm enjoying it. Interactive also says they will only stop listening to our podcast if we aren't Team Yisu by the end of After Signal.
I think you worded a little differently. If we're not Team Yisu by the end of After Signal, we are dead to them. It's a little bit more.
Oh, that's what it was.
Oh boy, those are the words.
Yeah, I think being Team Yisu, I obviously Interactive is. Well, I'm assuming they're joking. I think when it comes to the Team Yisu though, it was I think the discussion on Heart Signal was like supporting Mingyu's choice of Yisu, which we were very like I mean it's happening, but we don't understand.
Yeah. We the show didn't let us get to know her in a way that made sense why they clicked so well, and so hopefully we'll get all that in After Signal.
In two episodes of After Signal, I've gotten a little bit, but I still cannot tell you really why Mingyu picked Yisu yet. I am curious, like what this is the first time I've watched any show like After Signal before, especially being like usually it's like 1 episode reunion, but it's like 5 episodes. So which means like it in of itself is like its own little mini story of like what happened. So I'm curious where it's going or if there's going to be some twist in it. I don't know what's going to go on this show actually. But hey, I don't hate. I mean, I'm fine with Yisu. I just really wish I could have understood what happened at the end of that show. The funnest part of the first 3 episodes of After Signal are the 8 of them got together in like this bar, I guess, but they must have like rented it out so nobody else could be there so that they could watch in secret. And like they watched like the airing of the first episode together, and that was like that was cool to watch, especially with like Hushin not having been there and his reactions to everything. And he didn't like talk to anybody or ask them what happened before he got there. So he was just like guessing along with the hosts on the show. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So I hope they do more of that. I hope like I'm sure like the big moments of the season we're gonna get like them watching it together. And that'll be fun.
Cool.
So I'm looking forward to that. Anything else that we need to talk about before we get into the final episode? What do the listeners need to know if they're just here for the Transit Love stuff and we're going to other things after this? What do they need to know?
They need to know that at some point Singles Inferno 3 is coming out.
Yes.
Theoretically in December. And I feel like if you like this show, you're probably going to like that show. So come on back and we'll talk about all those episodes.
Unless you're not into rainbows and butterflies, but...
Well, there is the fight pit. So, a little bit of balance out there. I'm just assuming there's going to be another fight pit. And, I don't know. We have a list of things we're thinking of doing in between them. And I've forgotten entirely everything that's on the list right now.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the After Signal podcast.
Well, yeah.
We'll see. Heart Signal was definitely rainbows and butterflies. That's probably the most out of all the shows we've watched, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if Singles Inferno is all rainbows and butterflies, but it's not as dramatic as this show.
Yeah.
All right, ready to get into it. Episode 20.
Yeah, let's
all right.
do it.
Where did we leave off in episode 19, though?
They had dates with their exes, and then they got to choose a secret date.
That's right.
And so it was just all dates on the day before the final decision.
Yeah, and Nayeon got very.
She had a fun chart of how interested in Hee-do she was throughout the day.
But she got very concerned at the end that Hee-do was not picking her. And then they got into like one final argument.
Of course.
If I had only watched that episode, I would have thought that Hee-do was not picking Nayeon. Right? That's how I felt. Episode 20, the day of the final decision. We are here.
It's happening.
Yeah. It's the morning. I don't know. I feel like they must have slept in pretty late. This day is just going to be a long ass day.
So fucking
the
long.
logistics of how they do this final decision is actually like very time consuming, I think.
I feel like they may have had a plan for like, okay, we'll have most people end up meeting up around sunset and the light will be really good, but then people took forever and they're just in the dark on the beach and it's awkward.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like no one got much sleep and they may have let them sleep in longer than they originally had planned. Before we get to the whole final decision process, there's some talk, right? As they're all getting ready. Nayeon, Haeun, and Naon are talking. Haeun still hasn't told production her decision, whereas other people are saying they already have. As much as...
You mean Nayeon hasn't told her? Haeun did.
Wait, say it again?
Nayeon hadn't told production yet, but Haeun has.
Oh, I heard Haeun hasn't told production, and Nayeon told them her decision like 2 days ago, but then she changed her mind or something.
Oh, okay, yeah, she did tell them 2 days ago, but like as terms of like the final one, like
you're saying Haeun has chosen at this point.
Well, has told production a decision.
Oh, okay.
And like the way this plays out, like I don't even think that them telling production a decision is their final decision. It's like it seems like it's pick somebody other than your ex who maybe you will pick at the end,
Oh.
Because like they do have moments throughout this whole thing where they're like, now is the time to make your decision. Are you going to stay in the car? Are you going to get out of your car? So my assumption is everybody had to pick a non-ex person. And
interesting.
Whether or not they had to tell them the final decision then, or it actually was left up till later, I don't know.
What about Wonbin? Do you think Wonbin chose a non-ex person?
I think Wonbin went, can you just let me off the show now? Like, come on, guys. Nothing's happening, right?
Maybe. I assumed everybody chose a person. And then if you didn't choose your ex, the show is always going to give you one last choice to change your mind back to your ex. And then if you did choose your ex, if somebody else chose you, they're going to give you one final decision to choose the person that chose you instead of picking your ex.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're forcing you to pick somebody who's not your ex. I don't know if they're doing that. That would be kind of dirty, but maybe they are doing that.
I don't know.
Yeah, because there's a lot of different configurations of the different ways they go about these final confessions or decisions or whatever you want to call them. Okay. So yeah, I thought Nyan said I picked somebody 2 days ago, but then I changed my mind, and now she hasn't told them yet. Is what you're saying? What
Yeah,
her
because
decision
she does
is?
have this
Okay.
conversation with Haeun where she's like, "Do you know who you're gonna pick?" And Haeun's like, "Yeah, I already told them. Did they not ask you who your final pick was?" And then they're like, "Oh, that's right. You got back at 6 in the morning, and that's why they haven't talked to you yet."
Okay.
Because Nyan came back crazy late, early in the morning, whatever you want to call
Okay. Based on what we watched, so 2 days ago, I was thinking like 2 days ago she must have told them she was picking Hidu, right? And
it.
now
Yeah.
she's questioning that, right? It's not the other way around. I'm assuming that's what it was.
Yeah, except by the end of the day, she seems very, very sure of her decision in the other direction. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's true. What happened? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe her words
It's
mean
hard to keep track of Nyan without a graph. They should have given me a graph the entire season.
Yeah, the graph is specially illustrated. Like maybe her words mean nothing. Like I don't know. She really seems to be stressing about her decision if she's not picking Hidu. I was actually thinking about this with Hidu and Nyan, like in this scenario. Like if we go back to like Hidu crying in the car, I was
Mhm.
thinking like the only way, or at least the most likely scenario for him crying like that is that like he's finally decided that he's not picking Nyan and
Mm.
like releasing Nyan or whatever he is by making a decision in his head is like the reason he's like big crying.
He's like mourning the relationship actually being over.
Yeah, because if it was like the other way around, I don't really get it, right? Like, why are you crying
Yeah.
because you've decided to pick your ex? Like, to me, like
Mm.
the amount that he was crying, if he's crying because he's not picking Ji Young, I don't really get it. But if he's crying because he's not picking Nyan, I get it. Like, there's a huge history there.
I think it might be like wanting to move on, but like knowing that he is still not over her and just being frustrated with that.
Like, he's like crying about his own inabilities to move on. Like, I guess it's
Yeah.
possible. I don't fully get that, but I guess that's possible. I don't know. I was kind of convinced that going into this, Hidu was planning on picking Ji Young.
Jiyeon.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll talk about it more when we get there. Yeah.
Well, Nayeon does say that she might make a decision that's not good for her, and I'm like, oh, okay, so she's aware that she's picking Hidu, and that's a bad choice. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I think Nyan is on Hidu for
Yeah.
sure at this point. But I'm not sure about Hidu. It's kind of hard to tell. Um, in a confessional, Nyan says, "I didn't have any reason not to pick Gyumin."
Yep. She seems real aware of the situation, and yet comes to the wrong conclusion.
Yeah. And this confessional is like after the decision has been made, right? Because she's like, "I didn't have any reason." Like,
Yeah, yeah, it
past.
sounds like it. Yeah.
It's crazy to me that like
Mm-hmm.
this happens.
Yep. I don't
Am
get
I
it.
the unreasonable person, Sarah? Like seriously,
No.
I can't.
No.
Listeners, tell me, like,
It
am
make
I fucking crazy? Like,
Do other people just like really love fighting with their partners all the time? Because that is not something I have ever wanted in my life.
oh my god. Okay, whatever. Yeah, Hidu is then gonna join the girls. He's talking to Naon and Haeyeon. I guess, yeah, Nayeon must have left the room.
Hmm.
Hidu says he has made up his mind, and he's like, he is doing this. Like he's talking to them, and he's like straight up just lying down in Nayeon's bed, like it's his own bed, basically.
Yep. Yep.
So maybe he was. It's a weird thing to be doing if you weren't gonna pick Nayeon, right? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
is weird. Yeah, okay. Maybe I'm wrong about my assumption that was gonna pick Jiyoung. All right, and then the doorbell rings. They get a letter. Confess your feelings now. And I was like, now? I was like, now? Like, what do you mean now? I was like, okay. Maybe a poor translation. I'm not sure. All right. Intro music. They actually talk about like their final thought process, like in the intro music. I don't know if you wrote
Yeah.
any of those down.
Oh, I wrote all of them down.
You wrote all of them down? I didn't think it was that
just
important.
in case.
I didn't write it. Like, what was? Give me one you thought was interesting.
I mean, none of them are
Okay.
very interesting. I just didn't know where it was going, so I wrote it down as we were going along. And they're all like can be totally taken out of context.
Yeah.
Like Nans is just I tend to be straightforward. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
That was
It was just an interesting.
it's
interesting
Yeah,
mix
yeah.
up that they did as part of the intro music.
Tae's was funny though. It's like, this is making me shy. Goodness, oh my. The translation was silly.
Episode 20, Confession. All right, and
It's go
here we
time.
go. We're gonna start this. Let's walk through the first two are Tae and Jiyoung, and this is gonna be kind of like the process that everybody's going through.
Yeah,
Um,
it's man gets in car, man drives to X.
well, not that's what I thought it was gonna be until the end. It wasn't actually.
Until the end,
Yeah.
but like the beginning, how 4 or whatever is this process. So I guess it's person gets in car, drives to X, drives X to a person who wants to ask them out or who they want to ask out,
Yeah.
and then and then drops them off if they want to go with someone else.
Yeah, and then they leave the car if they want to, not be
Yeah.
with their ex. But they get a final chance to just like ride and talk with their ex. This is so weird.
Yeah.
I was enjoying this though. Like it was so strange that it was so beyond strange that I liked it. Like it was like I don't know.
I guess it's a nice way to like have a final goodbye with your ex, I guess, or something.
So here's the thing about the show. So I feel like when I went into watching the show, I didn't fully understand what the show was. And
Mm.
my understanding of the show going into it was based on like, you know, the intro or the graphics they use in the show is like, oh, are you it's like a heart signal like dating show where you are there with your ex, so your ex is an option. You can choose your ex if you want to.
Yeah, I thought everything else was going to be basically the same as like Heart Signal.
I don't think that's a perfectly fair. I mean, that was my interpretation going in, so I was just wrong. I think what the show actually is just like, will you choose your ex or will you not choose your ex? And it's not so much about like who you choose that's not your ex. It's just like
Yeah.
the show really cares about whether or not you're going to get back with your ex is like the
Yes.
story that they care about. Yeah. So if I had been thinking about this show more like that from the beginning, I think I would have been on board or like at least understood what production was doing the whole time. Like I was been like, oh, okay. We're
Okay.
setting up the entire show for this final moment where you decide between your ex and somebody else. Because like I didn't realize
Yeah.
that this was like the way the final process was gonna work. Because like the show really gives you every opportunity possible for you to like at the last moment decide, you know what, I can't leave my ex. I can't do it.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
So yeah, I didn't realize that that's what this show was getting at the whole time. I thought it was just
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
more like I thought every potential relationship on the show would be treated equally, and that is not the case
Yeah, definitely.
from a production standpoint, at least. Yeah. So let's do Tae and Jian. Let's just get through some of the stuff quick. So yeah, Tae gets in the car. He gets a text saying your ex is waiting for you at the address below. So he drives. He picks up Jiyoung on the side of the road.
Yes.
So she gets in the car, and then this step is a little different. Like what happens after the person gets in the car, and it depends on the dynamics of like, are people liking anybody in the current ex couple that we're watching that are like outside the car, or is anybody in the car like somebody that's outside the car? But Tae gets the text. It's and he says that it says you're going to tell your feelings to someone, so I have to drive you there. So basically, the text lets him know like, oh, your ex has
Somebody else.
pick somebody else. Essentially,
Yeah.
go drive her to that person. And at this point, I wrote in my notes like, oh, this is how we're doing this.
It is quite awkward.
And I thought kind of like how you said it was going to be until the final one, where it was like women's exes drive them to confess their feelings to another person. So weird. So weird.
And like also the way it's presented like that makes it feel like none of the men are making a decision. Like they've theoretically made a decision beforehand, but like this is not part of trying to convince that like their potential picking their ex is not the important thing. It's the women theoretically, but that's not true later when it swaps, you know.
Yeah.
Nayeon's driving around. It just gets a little. It just happened that way based on who picked who, I guess. But
Yeah.
it felt weird like that.
Yeah, this whole end process is a logistical puzzle for production
Nightmare.
to figure out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of configurations that could have happened that didn't happen. And we can talk about those later, but all right, yeah. So this is weird. So they arrive at the destination, and then Ji Young gets a text that says, "If you get out of the car, you have chosen someone new." So
Yeah.
it's like her final decision is like, all right, stay in the car with your ex, or get out of the car and you will never see your ex ever again. No,
Pretty much.
it doesn't actually say that, but well, actually,
Yeah.
they actually show us everybody kind of meeting back at the house later, which I was surprised they showed us that.
Which is
like
the most
they're-
awkward
they're
time
gonna show,
has to be.
yeah. They're gonna show that at the end. I feel like these shows never show that because it's like it kind of like breaks the mystique of the show to do that. Like,
Yeah.
it's.
Mhm.
I was kind of glad they did it because you got to see how like kind of nice everybody was to each other after the show was over.
Mhm. Yeah, that was good.
But yeah, it was definitely different.
Yeah, there's not a lot of hemming and hawing about this decision. I mean, on the way there, she tells Tae that, oh, I care so much about you. And he's just like, yep, sure, whatever. We're here now. Are you going to go?
Yeah. So this is what I mean. Like, so like we know Ji Young didn't pick Tae, but like the show is giving her one final chance to just stay in the car with Tae.
Yeah.
Even though she's already made her decision, she has to make another final decision.
We don't get to see this. I wish we had seen somebody stay in the car with someone who did not want them. Like if
we didn't
she had
see
stayed
that.
in the car, like what would production tell Tae to do? Just like, you get out of the car and walk to whoever you're trying to ask out.
Now I wonder, would they have done the whole thing differently if they knew Ji Young? Yeah. See, I think in this,
so like, how authentic
case,
is that choice then?
Is Ji Young's choice or whose choice?
Well, in this moment when you're in the car and they're like, get out if you want to leave your ex forever, or stay in if you like, is that a choice point? Are they allowed to make a decision, or do they still have to go with whatever they told production earlier?
I think they can switch. Now, what I'm saying is, if like say that production, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I guess my point is, what I was going to say, if production knew that Ji Young was going to pick Tae, Ji Young probably would have been driving the car, except she doesn't have a license, so I don't know how that works. But, she would have driven the car, taken Tae to see Naeun or something. I don't know. They might have figured out a different way to do it. But you're right. Like, I hope that this is an authentic decision where, like, she could change her mind at the last second.
Yeah.
And if she's not, then it is a little theatrically silly.
It's probably authentic, and they would probably just have him drive Ji Young to where Naeun was waiting, so he could confess his feelings to Naeun and have his own choice moment where they're like, okay, say get out of the car or stay in. That's probably what would have happened. It just would have been awkward because Ji Young would not be able to drive away after that because she can't drive.
I feel like they would just tell Tae to kick her out of the car. And he would drive away. And she would have to like wait there and see if Hedu shows up. And then if Hedu did pick her, she would then like get another choice to like switch her mind again, or actually tell him that she didn't pick him in the end.
Oh, that's so messy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all the different ways to do this are kind of interesting, actually. Yeah, so Ji Young eventually gets out of the car. Yeah, I had the same thought. Like, oh, are women gonna have to reject their exes, but men don't? And that does happen, I think, in one of the cases. But it didn't have to work out that way. I think it's more or less just how the choices worked out. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for Tae and Ji Young. She still likes him, but he's clearly done with her. She gets out of the car. We didn't see anybody waiting there, and it was actually like so interesting to watch this because I was like, I don't actually know how any of this is going to work. Like when nobody was there to pick her up, and then when we saw, because then they're going to do Hyungyu and Naeun, and like Tae is waiting for Hyungyu and Naeun to get there, and I was like, oh, but Hedu wasn't waiting for Ji Young, so does like she know that he didn't pick her? Like I don't know. I don't actually know. Ultimately,
well, I think like just the logistics of the day. She must have been in that cafe for like 5 fucking hours. Like,
she was there forever. Yeah, she was there for so long.
Because like Hedu's last. Like that decision is last. Yeah. So she is.
No, Ji Young was there forever. Forever. Yeah. Yeah. I am curious if everybody actually their final pick was what they told production previously. I'm very curious about that. Most likely yes, but we can come up with conspiracies.
My guess would be yes, but yeah.
All right, Hyungyu and Naon.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote down some of the stuff they talk about when they get in the car together. Naon says
a nice little chat.
Yeah, Naon says their date yesterday helped her release the resentment she had for Hyungyu. I'm still curious what the resentment is.
We will never know.
Like, she broke up with him the second time, but I guess she broke up with him because of some sort of resentment, and we don't know what that is. I'm so curious.
Exactly.
Because, like, and then I kind of interpret this as, like, okay, so you released the resentment. Like, I am so curious to see, like, if they were on the show longer, if they would have worked their way back together or not. Because, like, if that was holding her back, if she actually, like, released that, I don't really know what the beef is between them. I don't know what their deal is, honestly.
I think their deal would be, like, they would be able to be comfortably friends. I think the whatever spark that keeps a relationship, different from a friendship, is not there anymore. So I think just getting rid of the resentment means that they could have a comfortable, chill friendship now.
Okay. I mean, it seems like they were already at that stage, though, which is weird that, at least from Naon's perspective, she didn't feel like... I don't know.
It seemed like they were able to be like that, like when they had to be around each other, but I don't know that they were choosing to be around each other a lot. So I think, like,
a good point, maybe,
in the new stage might be like, oh, we could actually, like, choose to spend time together as friends.
Okay. All right. She also, like, she doesn't say it the way I'm about to say this, but she kind of says this. Like, she kind of says, like, seeing him cry made her feel better. Just saying.
Well, I think because then she understood that he felt bad and, like, wasn't just being a dick about whatever the problem was, Yeah. But yeah, you can boil that down to she felt better when she saw him cry.
You cried, it made me feel better.
I like that he tells her that he would be madder at her dating, like, an inadequate guy than just her dating at all. Like, he does not care that she's dating as long as it's not some shithead.
No, that I totally get that. Like, if somebody broke up with you and then just dates an absolute dirtbag after, like, what the fuck, bro? What? I totally agree with that. Like, I have no reaction. Like, if somebody broke up to me and they started dating somebody else, whatever, that's normal. But if that person like really sucks, like,
they started dating. He do. I mean, geez.
Yeah, you broke up with me for this. Like, how shitty am I? My God. They talk about how they are good friends now a lot. Talking about it a little too much, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, the way they keep being like, oh yeah, we're gonna be such good friends now. Yeah, we're gonna be great. We're just gonna be able to get along so well now, and then we're gonna be friends. And Would you ever have a conversation like this with your ex, Sarah? This sounds like a conversation where people are, like, trying to convince themselves that this is just a
maybe
friendship.
It's partially that. Or maybe it's awkward. This might be the last time we see each other, so we're, convincing ourselves that, we're going to keep in touch. It's, it's last day of camp. Like, I'm totally going to email you or whatever, Like, and then there's also, like, a level of they're both probably fairly anxious about the rest of the day they have to deal with, So them talking in circles a little bit didn't strike me as
okay. If I was anxious about it, I'd just be, like, sitting there thinking about not the person I'm not picking.
Yeah. But you're in a car, you gotta make conversation.
All right, let's continue. And then Naeun is telling Hyungyu how he should treat Haeun. This came up. And she says, be good to her, but don't be nicer than you were to me. And then she says, it won't be possible, though. And then they laugh. Meaning, like, you were so nice to me. How could you be nicer to Haeun?
Yeah.
Except I resented you.
But also, if he was so nice, why did she resent him exactly?
What did he do?
I don't know. What? We will never know.
Maybe he did nothing. It's just all nonsense. I have no idea.
Maybe all the resentment Maybe all the resentment was from the time he broke up with her. Like, she's just like couldn't let go of it. Like, you just broke up with me out of nowhere. I don't know. Even though they got back together after that.
So he broke up with her. Then they got back together, and then she realized, wait, you breaking up with me was really shitty. I'm gonna break up with you now.
Maybe.
It was all a play.
Who knows?
She only got back together to break up with him.
Ooh, to break his heart.
Ooh, that's possible.
That's some Haeun behavior, honestly.
No, I don't know. I mean, I really don't feel like I know Na-eun, and especially Hyungyu. I really don't know Hyungyu at all.
Yeah.
From the show, so I don't know. I don't know. I kind of wish I knew, but it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tae is gonna be waiting there when they arrive. I was like, wow, this is awkward. This is weird. I was at first, this was so weird, and then it just. The more I watched it,
so much weirder.
The more I watched it, the more I was just like, yeah, this is great. Why not? It's definitely more exciting than some of the other Final Decisions we've watched.
True.
It's the goofiest,
but
though.
Like, they pull up in this car, and she's not gotten out of it yet, and she gets the text that's like, okay, go out and confess your feelings, and she's like, wait, I'm supposed to say some shit?
Yeah, what the hell?
And they just spent so long in the car with him trying to coach her on what to say, and Taehee's just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Are you really not getting out of the car? It was so awkward.
Like, if I'm Tae, I'm like, what is happening? Like,
yeah.
I thought you weren't into your ex. What is happening that I don't know about? Also, like, does this mean something that Na-eun, first of all, didn't realize, supposedly, that on a show like this, that she might have to, express how she's feeling to a camera during the Final Decision? Like,
I think she was probably expecting Tae to have to be the person to be like, I choose you, and she'd just go, cool, let's go. Like,
no show actually works that way, though. Like Singles Inferno is weird because like the men have to do it first, and then the women get to choose among the men. But even the women, like, even if like 3 guys pick the same woman, like the woman says something about all the guys. Like, it's expected. This is an expectation if you're gonna be on the show.
I think maybe the wording of the text of like express your feelings might have like made it seem like a bigger, scarier thing than it was, just
I guess, but she doesn't take it.
Proclaim your love for this man.
So she doesn't take it seriously, though, because she just says to Hyungyu, like, I didn't expect it. I'd have to do this. Like, what should I say? And then all Hyungyu knows about Tae is that he
likes anime.
He likes anime, and I think he specifically references something from Full Metal Alchemist, and he also knows anime references. So he's like, oh, say this line from Full Metal Alchemist. He'll know what it means. And she's like, she really couldn't think of anything better to say, Sarah. Like,
I don't know.
I mean, especially as me watching it, and I'm not the one, like, in love with Na-eun, basically. Like, yeah. I'm like, this means something that she did not only did she not think about what she would have to say, but then she couldn't even come up with something to say when prompted. And like, I'm not a romantic. Like, I would struggle to like be eloquent on the spot and say something great, right? But like, the bar's pretty low on these shows in terms of like, just say something nice about him. Like, I had so much fun dating you. You're really funny, and I love surfing with you, and I'd really like to see where a relationship can go. Like, it doesn't have to be anything, right? And
You're not wrong.
she put more thought into talking to Hyungyu about how they're going to be such great friends after this than she did about what the hell she was going to tell Tae about their relationship. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, fair.
So awkward for Tae. And then she goes through with this plan with the anime thing, and she like doesn't really know the line, and it's so cringe because she doesn't even like commit to it and then do it and see how Tae reacts. She like sets it all up like she explains what she's about to do before she does it. And I don't know, like, if you're Tae, I don't know. I feel like even if you're Tei, and like out of all the people on the show, I actually believe that Tei like is in love with Naon, like more
Mm,
than anybody else on the show.
okay.
But like Naon is definitely not reciprocating the same intensity that Tei is.
Or is she coming to him with a phrase from something he loves, and even though she doesn't
Nah,
get it, she's trying? Is how he might see it. I'm not saying that's how it
he
happened, but
could, but
there is potential for him to think this is cute.
she didn't even like act like it was something like she prepared in advance. Like she just admitted to like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, this happened while I was in the car with my ex.
I mean, which is also good because now there's an explanation for why she was in the car for so long, you know?
I guess so. I don't know. I was disappointed. From as a Tei fan, I was disappointed
Yeah,
that he
yeah.
would not get a great he basically like didn't get a eulogy to the season. Like like the person that picks somebody and kind of like eulogizes them and makes them, gives them the final like, this is why you're a great person and this is why I want to date you.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
did not get that. And that
Yeah.
he was robbed of that moment.
I think it's fair that we've been saying probably the entire season, like, Tei deserves better, just generally, through the whole show. It's
Yeah.
always been true.
Okay.
But they do say some cute shit to each other and have picked each other and have become victorious on the dating show.
Yeah, he says some nice stuff. Again, like nothing super impressive,
Mm-hmm.
but he says nice stuff about her.
Yeah.
I wrote in my notes, I might be hyperbole. Maybe, I don't know. I kind of believe this. I truly believe that
Mm-hmm.
Na On likes Hyungyu more than Tae. That's what I believe.
Just because there's history and she's known Tae for a week. Like, I think that's what this comes down to. Like, she has literally been like less than 10 days she's known this man. So, of course, it's not going to be a big, huge, love confession at the end here.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, if, like, she can decide, like, I'm done with my ex, whatever that was, it's done. And then also, yeah, not be able to meet somebody in 10 days or less or whatever it was and like them more than her ex. Like, it's reasonable. That's just like this fairy tale that of Tae. Like, I mean, ultimately, the show does not put that much effort into the story. They like get it out of the way in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe just as a Tae fan, I was hoping this would be more than it is, but
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down
yeah,
to.
okay.
I also wanted a fairy tale ending for him, but it's better than it could have been,
Yeah, he could be Jisoo on that show. My God,
Yeah, exactly.
could definitely be worse. All right, let's get to Wanbin and Jisoo. They're next.
Yep. She is very confused by why Wanbin is picking her up. She's just like, I haven't picked him. This is why do I have to see him today?
Yeah, so like, did they not do this the same way in season 1, or maybe these people didn't watch season 1?
Unclear. I don't know.
But like, yeah, a lot of them are gonna be very shocked at the final decision mechanic. Like, Naeun didn't know she would have to say her feelings. Yeah, Jisoo didn't realize she'd have to interact with Wanbin. I think Nayeon didn't even realize she would have to or she didn't realize that Heedu was going to get in the car with her. Like, she thought she was driving somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, see Heedu, I guess, but not, he wouldn't actually be getting in the car. So,
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of people not being ready for whatever was about to happen. They are
Exactly.
they are actually just getting texts on their phone being like, drive to this location, and they don't actually
Yeah.
know what's going to happen when they get there. Yeah, so Wanbin's text when Jisoo gets in the car is slightly different because he actually chose Jisoo. So his text says, your ex is going to ask someone out. You may change your ex's heart while giving her a ride. Good luck, Wanbin.
Yeah, I'm sure that's gonna work out.
And I don't think necessarily Wanbin knew that he was going to have this final discussion either.
Yeah.
So this is super weird.
To be fair, I don't think he tries to change her. Like, he understands what's happening,
Yeah. There's also like a point where I feel like they're straight up just talking about how dumb the show is right now for them. like Wanbin even says to her, like, based on the text, like, he already can tell she hasn't picked him. And he just says this out loud to her.
Yeah.
And then Jisoo says to Wanbin, like, so why is my ex here if I didn't pick you? Like, as if like she's not talking to Wanbin. Like I don't know. The translation was weird. It was like she wasn't. She was referring to Wanbin as her ex instead of Wanbin right to his face.
Yeah.
So this is weird.
Yeah.
Wanbin is going to apologize again in his explanation of his feelings.
Of course.
Classic. Classic Wanbin.
Can't help it.
Yeah, he talks a lot and starts tearing up eventually. Jisoo pretty much has no response. She talks a little bit.
Yeah, she says in her confessional that she's like, I knew if I cried at all, this boy would cry forever, so I shut that shit down.
Yeah, she said she really had to repress her feelings. So she was feeling something, she's going to say, but in the moment she looks very over the whole situation, which also might be accurate to how she's feeling.
It's totally fair.
Yeah, they arrive at a destination and nobody's waiting there for Jisoo, but she gets out of the car, right?
Yep. And she shakes Wanbin's hand. That's how you know you didn't have a chance. It's a nice handshake.
I guess Jisoo didn't know what was going on because after they park and before she gets out, Wanbin admits that he chose her, and then she seemed actually surprised by that.
Yeah.
Or at least like she didn't know what to do with that information. So
yeah,
whatever. She leaves the car, and she's gonna have to wait a long time. Actually, no, not
super
as long.
Not as seems long. Like
but yeah, she has to wait there for her pick to come,
which is Gyumin.
Reject her or
not.
I
guess Wanbin just like drives off into the sunset sad and alone.
Yeah, Wanbin's done. He has no more connections to anybody. No, he just goes back to the house. We find out later.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She does not tell Wanbin who she picked.
I think she even asked him like, "Do you know who I chose?" And he's like, "No." She's like, "Okay,
yeah,
okay. Whatever."
Didn't even want to tell him. She was just like, "You'll find out eventually, so I won't tell you." Which is usually people like, "Oh, you're gonna find out eventually. I'll just tell you." But she was like, she did the other way around. Yeah. All right, and then they do Gyumin and Haeun, right? Or
no, it's just Gyumin because Jisoo chose Gyumin, so his is somebody's waiting to ask you out. Go to them.
Yeah, Gyumin arrives alone. I still think Gyumin and Jisoo could be a good couple. I don't know why. It just it feels.
I do too.
They just feel like they're on the same wavelength or whatever.
I mean, literally, Gyumin says that. He's like, "We've been."
Oh yeah, that's why I said that. Yeah, it's in my notes. Okay. Yeah, Gyumin like literally says that.
He says that, but he doesn't like seem to connect it up to like, yeah, we'd be good together. He's just like, yeah, we have a lot in common. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay. And at some point, I think he even says, like, is there anything you want to say before I go? It's like real unceremoniously, like the way he leaves. It's just like, okay, bye. Got other shit to do.
Yeah. I don't think they have a lot of direction on these things, honestly.
That's true.
They did show a cute montage of their time on the show together. So I like that. Yeah, and then Gyumin leaves. And like the show didn't really set it up that way, but I'm assuming like Gyumin leaving meant he wasn't picking her. Like if he was picking her, they would have waited to do this after all the other stuff Gyumin had to do, right?
Yes.
I don't know. Potentially this gets like really complicated if like imagine
like if he had changed his mind right then and just been like, yes, Jisoo is the way.
If he
then production would be like, how the fuck is Haeun gonna get anywhere? God damn.
Who's gonna drive Haeun? Yeah, it gets weird. No, because he can still drive her, and then if Haeun picked him, he'd be like, sorry, I already picked Jisoo.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
And then kick her out of the car, and then she has to go talk to Hyungyu and be like, sorry, I just picked Gyumin and he kicked me out of the car.
No, I think she just gets kicked out on the side of the road and never goes to see Hyungyu. I don't know. Just
the alternate timelines are like super funny to think about, honestly.
Yeah.
All right. Gyumin leaves Jisoo. All right. Now we get to go to Gyumin and Haeun, right?
Yes.
All right. In confessional, I don't know how far back in the show this was, but Gyumin tells us he's picking Nayeon. The show even put it on the screen as if it was official, but I was still like not taking it that way.
Okay.
Because I guess because at least the way it was leading up to this was like, well, they're giving them a final choice to change anyway. So just because his final choice was Nayeon doesn't mean it has to be that. And ultimately, we're not actually going to see know for sure what Gyumin's final choice was.
I mean, except we see this, and that is like officially his.
That's officially who he picked, but he never had the option to change.
Yeah, That's why I don't know if any of these options to change are like actually authentic or not. It just feels weird.
Okay. He does admit in the confessional though that a little more time with Heian could have made the difference.
He's even says like, if we even just had dinner, then maybe, like, because they had that their ex date, and he thought they were gonna get dinner, and that got cut off, and he's just like, we just had dinner together, it might have changed things. And I'm like, I think you're full of shit, human, but okay.
Oh, really? You do? I was thinking maybe
like do you need like when have you ever been like one dinner away from being like, I'm gonna date this person?
Oh yeah, I mean,
seems so arbitrary.
It's
silly.
ridiculous, but it's as ridiculous as Heian being like, I just need to talk to Guman like the whole season or whatever. So what do I know? But also like maybe he just needs one more car ride with Heian.
Oh nope. Or maybe the car ride did it, and he didn't get to make that choice.
That's what I want to believe. Yeah, so Guman is picking her up on the side. She's on the side of the road. She's already tearing up before Guman even gets there. It seems like
Heian. She's a crying machine, of course.
Seemed like I don't know how long she was in front of the camera on the side of the road, but it seems like she would have been on the side of the road for a long time. Because it's like basically turning to night when she gets picked up already.
Yeah.
Guman is tearing up in confessional, but he's not tearing up when he gets there.
Yeah.
He picks her up, and then this whole thing is great. They get in the car. Everybody else, at least the way it was edited, the person gets in the car, and then the guy or the driver, I guess, of the car gets a text and is like, take your person to here. They get in the car and have I don't know.
They're in the car for like 2 hours. I swear
2 hours,
to God.
yeah. Like they have a long conversation before Guman even Guman has not taken the car anywhere. They talk for so long.
I kind of almost feel like they probably got the text, and then later they get a reminder text of like, hey, you do have to actually like drive somewhere at some point.
I mean, if you're production, just let them sit there until they're not talking. Just let them sit there until it gets too late, and then you have to like be like, we got to move. But
well, yeah, that's what I think it got to the point where it was too late, and they're like, guys, you gotta move. Like, we can't be here.
But if you're production, like I would never like, because the people that are driving to pick up their ex, like they don't know they're about to get a text saying drive them to this location. I don't think they ever give them that text because they're giving them so much content in this conversation. Like they don't want to interrupt the conversation, so they just let them go on and on and on. They don't even know like if they're in the process of confessing to each other their final. I don't know. Like I don't know what state of the show they believe they're in here.
I think they must have gotten the text when he first shows up, because that happens to everybody else, and they just like started talking and ignored it.
I think it happened to everybody else because it was like your ex gets in the car, and then it's just like, all right, now what do we do? And they're just sitting there, and they're not really talking. But these two just start talking right away. Yeah. So the way I was looking at this entire conversation was like, it really felt to me like they were like feeling each other out in this conversation and like trying to kind of figure out if the other person was picking them. That's how I felt. So the whole time, like I felt like they both wanted to pick each other when I was watching it, which was
really
built up the drama of it for me personally.
Interesting. Okay. I watched this scene and I was just like, here's more of Han shitting on Guman. And Guman is almost sort of having a slight redemption arc of explaining his behavior, which, whatever, seems like an excuse half the time, but it's something, I guess. And this didn't overly move me.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's just more of, I guess because I made the prediction that they would pick each other, I was invested in that more than anything.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, all right, I'm locked in. Like I had to go pick up my kid, but like I was, I didn't have to leave my computer, like I would have been locked in. Like, okay, this is great. I'm watching this. Like this is great TV here. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't get into the specifics of like what they were saying to each other too much. But I was watching this with kind of a frustration of like, I wish they would just tell each other how they feel about each other. Like they were more or less just like rehashing like like he was very apologetic about he takes a lot of the blame of being the one
Yeah.
that was mean to her, which could be an indication that he was particularly mean to her, or it just gave
Or she's been telling him that he's been mean to her for so long that he's
Yeah.
like, yes, I've been mean to you.
Yeah. Or it's like because he chooses to take the blame in this conversation, production like ran with that the entire season basically, kind of thing.
Okay,
Despite
yeah, that too.
despite how intense it of humans being mean to her really was. So yeah, it's more talking like that, like he apologized for being mean, and then she brings up they basically just rehashing a lot of the stuff in the season.
I do feel he expresses his feelings a lot. Like he tells her that he tells her about the crying in his car looking at their photos after their date and like how much he missed their old relationship when they were on the date. And then she's just kind of mean to him and calls him a fool. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Through whatever way that they talk, to me it was like I feel like I just felt like they were both trying to get to something but didn't want to be the one to say it, is kind of how I felt. And again, like I don't, like you're saying, I don't know how real the option is to change your mind. I would hope that it is, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, I wrote in my notes like they're really beating around the bush with whatever they're trying to say. But all right. What's weird to me is like how Guman is talking in this scene. Like, would he be talking like this if he wasn't going to pick Haeun?
I mean, he clearly did talk this way and wasn't picking Haeun.
When they get there, they're going to go to Hyungyu. Haeun is going to make a choice as to whether she wants to pick Guman or Hyungyu. She's ultimately going to decide to get out of the car, which means that Guman never really chooses between Haeun
except his
and
initial choice. Like, his initial choice he did. Like,
you're
just
saying
the way Wonbin... Yeah, I'm saying Wonbin already chose Jisoo, and they knew that. And so, like, this situation would have worked out the same way the Wonbin and Jisoo situation worked out. You know, it's not like Jisoo didn't pick Wonbin, so he got to go wait for somebody else to ask out. Like, he already made the decision to pick Nayeon. Like, this whole route was already mapped out.
He had to have already...
Like,
No. Yeah, he chose production, but he never made the actual final decision of Haeun versus Nayeon, if that was an option for him on the show.
So you're saying if Haeun chose him, he would choose her?
I have to believe that based on what he's choosing to talk about in this conversation.
I just feel like if he was that sure of that, he would have just picked her instead of picking Nayeon, because Nayeon is obviously not going to choose him. It's not like Nayeon's an easy fallback situation, you know, like that's not a guarantee. Like, it's a definitely not happening.
No, but he didn't know he was going to have a 2-hour conversation in the car with Haeun that was going to make him feel however he's going to feel, is all I'm saying. Like, I don't know. It's just weird to me that he would, because it seems like he's trying to, like, whenever she talks, like, says, like, she starts talking about like what people always talk about in these shows. She's like, oh, it's like the timing means a lot or whatever. And it's like she's setting it up like oh, I'm not picking you. Like she kind of like teases it, even though like
well, I thought she said that in response to, I thought it's because he said, you know, if we had a couple more days, things might have gone differently for us.
Yeah.
I thought that's why she brought up timing.
Yeah, she brought up timing as if to like hint at the fact that she's not picking him, even though she's staying in the car for a very, very long time to still talk to him. And then, but like, and Guman is doing the thing where he's like nodding and being like, it's okay, I understand. But like, I don't know, like, it's just a lot of effort.
No, but that whole timing conversation happens because he says if they just had some more time, he was moving like things, like he would feel things for her differently. Like that's why she brings like that's why she's like fucking timing, you know, not because like I think he's the one dangling the, oh, I would have picked you if only, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, but I interpret that as him being like saying like, I understand that you're not picking me, but like this is why I would pick you if you chose me, but I'm not going to say it exactly. I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Wow. Okay.
I don't think so.
To me, this is just way too much work. Like, why am I having a conversation with my ex for fucking like 4 hours? There's nothing closure
It's
about this
closure.
conversation. They're just
Well,
rehashing.
no, because like
There's nothing closure
like
about this.
I think it is closure because he's explaining why he behaved the way he did, and apologizing for that, and apologizing for making her feel bad, and hopefully this helps her just like close up all her feelings about him so they never have to do this again.
Then why? I don't know. If that was the case, like you're like, I don't want to do this ever again. Why are you talking about like if we just had one more week, I think everything would be different. Like why are you putting that out in the universe if you want it to be
I
over?
don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Whatever.
I think they're all mixed up and deep in their feelings. But I think this whole conversation does serve as providing them both with closure.
I don't
And
think so.
if he was that close to picking Han, like I don't think he would have told production Nyan, because Nyan is not a guarantee. Nyan is the guarantee of not getting picked. So
Oh, you're saying because
why would he not just
he doesn't know that he's gonna have a final choice in the end, and that's why like he would have picked Heian. Like they don't know that by picking not their ex, they're not gonna like they think they're not.
Yeah,
gonna
they
have another
didn't know the
chance.
logistics of all this like back and forth.
That's a good point.
And like even if he did, like the point of picking Nyan in that case would be to like have a backup in case Heian didn't pick him. But like, what good is a backup that isn't going to pick you?
All right, you convinced me. And if that's the case, whatever the fuck Human is doing in this conversation, I am against it because
No, they're closure. They talk through everything, and I feel like they're actually done.
No.
Closure's important, especially for Heian. She's basically been begging for closure the entire fucking
not
season.
Closure for either of them. You can't talk about how like, well, if we just dated if we just could see each other for like a couple more days, we'd be dating again. Like that's not closure.
There are other things in this conversation other than that. Yes, that part is weird, but all the other stuff I think serves as them working towards closure.
I think they come to an understanding of how each other and maybe why each other behaved the way they did on this show. But in terms of closure for their relationship going forward in their lives, I don't think they got that.
Well, I feel like they had that before they came on this show, right? Like they were done. It was
years
I agree.
Ago.
And they just
I think they had
broke open all these feelings by being on the show. So they just needed show closure feelings,
I don't know. I think they had I mean, I don't know how you just go I don't get this 100-0 that Heian is going through, if that's how you're describing it, but over like the 4 days that Hyungyu was on the show, like it's too dramatic of a change.
What they always say, the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else. So like that's what it is. She's feeling something for somebody else. It helps.
They gotten under Sarah? I don't know. All right.
Okay, not the Korean dating show, so no. But that's the saying.
Yeah, so we're on the same page on this. Like we talked about how like if you're somebody that wants to maybe be on a dating show, we were like, do not go on the show. This production is not doing favors for you. They're not really trying to build a healthy relationship. They're just here for whatever content they're here for. That is still true. But now that I know what the show is, if you
are trying your best to get back with your ex, I guess maybe it's the show for you.
It doesn't have to be get back. Either you want to get back with your ex, or like you aren't getting over your ex, or whatever. If you still have feelings for your ex, that's the reason to go on the show, because that is the entire show. Is just are you getting over your ex or you're not? So ultimately, like you can believe what you want about Han and Guman, but like they got casted on the show because at least one of them was not over their ex. Like even if they weren't saying it in the pre-show interviews, like whatever production does when they cast people, like they knew. Otherwise, why are they on the show?
Yeah.
And I don't feel like Han and Guman, like some people I think are better off, like their relationships are better off with their ex after the show. I don't think Han and Guman improved whatever the dynamic of their ex thing was.
Yeah.
Maybe Han is in a better spot. Guman is not in a better spot than he was before. And I don't know. That's how I feel. So
yeah. I mean, he did get at least a little bit of a villain edit, so if nothing else, that can't super help his dating prospects in the future, right? I don't know.
Yeah, but even just like how
No
he
good.
feels about his ex, I don't think he's in a better
Yeah,
spot. Yeah.
Also that, yeah.
Yeah. So, the way that my mind works, which is apparently nobody on the show, pretty much, except for maybe Tay, I don't understand what Guman is doing here if he was not willing to switch to Heian if she chose him. But like, you make a great point. Like, he didn't actually know what was about to happen on the show, so his decision should be locked in.
Yeah.
But also, like, you could be like, okay, maybe this is like an edit manipulation. Like, okay, the way that the logistics of how they do this final confessions, there's always kind of like somebody that doesn't really have to make a choice, and ultimately, like, Guman, like, the show could have told us either one. I guess they showed us the confessional of him saying it, so at some point he did say that.
Yeah.
But the show could have just thrown on the screen like Guman picked Heian or Guman picked, or honestly, like, the show gets more content if he picked Nyan, because then they get the extra scene. So I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, but they're not going to
weird.
force the extra scene if he didn't pick her, you know?
I guess. Like, would he go along with it? Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. He was probably pretty. He definitely chose Nyan before and didn't know exactly what was going to happen. Unless he saw season 1. I don't know.
Maybe season 1 worked completely different. They didn't have all the rooms in season 1 that they have in this season.
All the rooms?
Yeah, I think they only had the chatting room, where they typed at each other. In the first season,
yeah.
they didn't have the talking room or the X room or whatever. So
yeah, it's not.
Seems like a lot of things changed.
All right, I think we basically went through it.
Yeah, they finally get the text of just like, get out of here.
Heian is crying the whole time, the entire time.
Well, yeah, it's Heian, of course. Yes, obviously.
And then Guman's not crying for a while, but eventually he is tearing up and cries. Oh, Guman tells her that he would have sent her a text yesterday if they had been allowed to send text.
Right.
Heian's tears changed to tears of joy for a brief moment, but they're still tears.
Still tears.
Yeah, okay, so we didn't describe Hyungyu on this. Like, it's some sort of like pier, like rocks that go out into the ocean, but like it's filled in with like concrete, so like a car can drive on it. But like Hyungyu is like in the pitch black dark, standing at the end of this pier on the ocean, and they like drive the car like on the pier far enough until like the headlights of the car can like see Hyungyu.
I mean, it does look
weird.
Like they could just keep driving and push him into the sea.
Yeah,
like,
they could
it's
just
really awkward.
Like he has, like, yeah, his life is in their hands right now. Like they could just run him over. He has nowhere to go, and Guman's behind the wheel. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So when they get there,
even after they
like,
park, yeah, okay, go
yeah,
ahead.
they still continue to talk and cry and whatever. And
I
poor
this.
Hyungyu is standing there just waiting.
I forgot about the phone calls. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, and then so eventually production is like, all right, Hyungyu, here's this woman's phone number. Call her and convince her to get out of this goddamn car. And so she's taking this phone call from him, sitting in the car next to Guman, and Guman's sitting there like, I didn't even pick this woman. Can I leave the car? Like, that's what his face looked like to me.
Oh, that's what you thought it was? Now, he could have left the car. Hidu's like the most reasonable person in these weird phone call moments where he's like, oh, wait, I could just like leave the car. That's not a big deal. And he just leaves the car.
Yeah. But Guman does not. He sits there and listens to half of this conversation.
That's what everybody does, except for Hidu.
Yeah.
Even Hidu, it took him a while to realize, like, oh, I could just get out of the car. Yeah, so Guman gets to hear this phone call between Hyungyu. She's literally like 20 feet away. They're on a phone call.
Yeah.
This is so crazy.
So awkward. But because the rule is the moment you step out of the car, you abandon your ex forever. This is what we have to do.
Like, she couldn't just like get out of the car, go talk to Hyungyu, come back to Guman and be like, I'm picking Hyungyu. I don't know. I guess it's fine. It's fine. It's just like visually, it just looked very weird.
It's very silly.
And then they talk. Hyungyu says like nothing, basically, right? He's just like, he says like the normal, like, I support you, even though he says later, like, I just wanted to say, get out of the car. But he says normal, nice things that people say.
Yeah.
And yep, she gets out of the fucking car. So I couldn't.
Finally,
I actually was just like I was prepared for it to happen, but I was just like, how are we having this 4-hour tear filled conversation and then we're getting out of the car? And like if these two people don't stay in the car, Sarah,
Uh-huh.
who's gonna
Why would anyone stay in the car?
who's
Yeah.
changing their mind if these two people aren't changing their mind
Yeah.
to stay in the
Yeah,
car?
like literally no one changes their mind
Yeah.
in this whole thing.
I don't think I will ever understand what a Heian is.
Fair. Yeah.
Like, we didn't get to know Yisu, or not Yisu. Oh yeah, Yisu too. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I think by the time I watch After Sing, I'll understand what a Yisu is. Yi Hyun, I didn't get to know her long enough to understand what a Yi Hyun was. I gotta watch Heian for a long time.
Yeah.
I will never understand what a Heian is. I'm so confused.
I'm just gonna assume she's very dehydrated from all the crying. That's the best I got.
Literally, whatever logical thought I would think would make sense, I'll just assume that she's gonna do the opposite of that because that's my only way to predict what a Heian is gonna do ever.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then Heian gets out of the car, goes to Hyungyu, starts talking to him, and then Hyungyu, who's just sat there stood there on this pier in the pitch black dark for who knows how long, is like, he was like, oh, I was like worried, or I don't know what he said, and then Heian's like, how did you not know that I was gonna pick you? What the fuck, Heian?
Maybe because you were crying in a car with your ex for the last 4 hours.
Like, I was standing here for 4 hours. What do you mean I did? Like, how am I supposed to know? And then you got here, and I had to wait another 2 hours.
Also, like, I think Guman can't drive away at this point because he's the only light source. So I think he has to sit there while they film
I didn't think
this
about
entire thing.
Yeah. Like, and then at one point, like, Heian, like, looks over his shoulder, like, back to Guman. Like, maybe she was just looking at the car. I don't know, but, like, unbelievable that Heian just said that to Hyungyu.
Okay, but then, do you want to talk about the thing now, or we have to wait till the end because it's relevant now?
What's the thing?
At the end, the show is just like, hey, you know that necklace Heian was wearing?
Oh, you can talk about it. You can talk about it now.
And I'm like, no, I did not notice her fucking necklace the entire season, but apparently she wore one necklace the whole time, and it's because it's a necklace she got from Guman. Except in today's episode, the final episode, she's not wearing the necklace, so theoretically she made a decision way ahead of time and still chose to cry in the car for 4 hours with Guman.
But it's not even really like a huge decision to take off the necklace. It was just like,
it seemed like it was for her.
It was like she actually had a human moment of like, okay, it's weird if I'm still wearing my ex's necklace when I pick Hyungyu at the end of the show. Like,
yeah, but she was so like ready to like, this is a real choice. I'm gonna approach it like a real human.
Whatever.
Like I know I just said that Guman had no idea that they would have a chance to choose otherwise. So, maybe I'm not applying the same logic reasonably here too, but like she did not think that, like I don't know. It's just.
No, she chose Hyungyu. I'll acknowledge she told production Hyungyu. But I'm not interpreting this removal of the necklace as this like amazing, like we have like her relationship for Guman is resolved. Or they had some sort of like amazing closure. Like it's just like she acknowledges like a normal person would, like, okay, it's weird if I'm wearing my ex's necklace when I choose you at the end. That's all she knew when she made that decision.
I guess for me, I just see it as a like, she took this step to take off this necklace, which she has worn with other dates she has had with Hyungyu, right? Like she was wearing it the whole time. But then to still need to spend 4 hours in a car with Guman seems ridiculous. Like, if you've gotten to the point where you're like, choosing this other guy, taking this necklace off, then why do we have to cry in the car for 4 hours? Yep. Why?
The car?
Why?
Yeah.
Haven't we done already?
You can't tell me crying in the car with her ex for 4 hours doesn't mean something. And it's some sort of like, oh yeah, this is closure. Like... It means
I think they
something.
did reach a point that might help in closure situation, at least on Guman's end. I don't know what a Heian is, so who knows? But I don't know. It's just I'm just glad I don't have to watch her cry anymore. Honestly, I'm just real glad.
Yeah, this shit made me emotional, Sarah.
Like, in what sort of way, though?
It's like I got a little bit angry watching this.
Yeah. I don't think that's the emotion the producers were going for.
But it was like it wasn't like the like my frustration with the show for that it was like a long time in the middle of the show. It was like, oh, I'm feeling
Mhm.
angry, but I kind of like this. Like this was I'm angry, but like this was good TV. So like I wasn't upset with like how I was feeling,
Yeah.
but I was like it was like fun to be like, oh my god, this Heian girl. How did you just fucking say that to yeah. How did you say that to Hyung
100%.
after you just sat in that car in front of his face?
Yep.
Honestly, it was great. It was great. This is what I would have liked, or maybe I think I would not have had such a negative middle part of the show. I mean, the listeners probably know better than I do, but I feel like we were enjoying the show in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
At some point, I think the show just kind of it had its end goal. I mean, they do that from the beginning, but like they got to the point in the show where like all the main content that needed to be there for the end story of the show, I feel like it was there, and we were like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we were really like treading water on the show for a while, where there was some stuff like not on Join the Show, and then we got a story with Tae, which we enjoyed, but ultimately
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
production didn't put a lot of effort into that story.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because they weren't here for the cute stuff.
yeah, and then the show does. Can we talk about this? Can we talk about Hyungyu for a second?
Okay.
As it pertains to production, like, is this not just like the luckiest thing that could have happened for production?
100%. Yes.
In a way that it's like it's fair to be suspect, right? Like, can I be a little bit suspicious?
You can be suspicious, but remember, I know what happened after the show.
Oh, okay. What you're saying these two are like still together by the end of the year?
These two are still together. They're still together now.
They're still
Like,
together now.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Unbelievable from my perspective. Actually, it's not unbelievable, but yeah, I would say improbable. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either.
Like it's totally
But-
possible that people like, you
Yeah.
know, you date, you grow together, you figure out.
Well, are you ready for my super cynical look at this? Which is, so also in this Reddit thread of updates of stuff, I've got a list of Instagram followers for everybody on the show. Top two, Haeun and Hyungyu. They on Twitter, that's all anybody's talking about is these two. Like clearly the most popular.
I mean,
So, like,
they're the absolutely best
here's the-
story.
Yeah. So here's the part where I'm like, I don't know. She's got a YouTube channel now. They're doing their whole like, she just got a toothpaste deal. I was surprised
Okay.
it wasn't tissues or whatever. So I'm like, how beneficial is it if they break up? Probably not
Or
great
if they stay
for the
together.
whole.
Yeah.
If they stay together though, that seems like a lot more interesting opportunities on that front. So there's my
Mm.
super cynical perspective. Take it for what you will. Maybe they really are in love and still together, but maybe it's just convenient for careers.
Yeah, that's possible.
I have no evidence one way or the other. That's
Yeah.
just, you know,
I
it's
maybe
just my cold dead heart being cynical.
if I feel like I had a better sense of who Hyungyu was. And actually, now that I think about it, Hyungyu does kind of feel like the closest to the person that we might be able to relate him to. I feel like he actually is kind of like a Wanbin more than anything.
Okay.
And like
Yeah,
I
can
could
see that.
kind of see like a Wanbin Heian relationship being a thing, as long as like like so here's my thing on the show. Like I think going forward, if I can't understand why somebody likes somebody,
Uh-huh.
I just have to assume it's a physical attraction thing. Like
Okay.
ultimately,
Yeah, it might be
and
that.
that's ultimately what I think. What like the difference between like Wanbin and Hyungyu is in terms of like I
Yeah.
think Hyungyu's just more attractive. I based on
Haeun's
what Han
tastes,
decided to
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So that's like all I really see in this. Like I don't really understand why, and it's the same way Hyungyu to Haeun. Like I never really figured out why Hyungyu liked Haeun, and ultimately I don't really know why Han likes Hyungyu, and her decision feels more like ultimately her choice. The important aspect of her choice is that she's just not picking her ex, not that she's picking Hyungyu. But that doesn't mean they can't date after the show and figure it out and
Yeah.
make it
Yeah,
work
yeah.
and learn more about each other. But
Get
I
to
would
where
not.
he
Yeah,
is,
but I'm not gonna. I would never bet on it. Like
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
not have bet on that being the case. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yep.
All right, save the other ones for the end. I'm
Okay,
curious.
okay.
I am
It was
curious.
just so relevant.
All right, Nayan and Hidu. This is the last one, right?
Yeah, but it's got stops along the way.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Nayan is picking up Hidu.
It's great when she pulls up. Well, I guess they wanted to make his choice last, and so that's why
Yeah.
they. Did
I
it
mean, the
way they
show
did it.
set it up like his decision was more uncertain.
Yeah.
But that again, like because they chose it to go this way in the end, it's like, oh well, maybe they edited it that way, but also maybe they just knew. I always find it like I always find it like they have to make these decisions, production decisions in real time,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'm curious, like let's say Hidu and Nayan like straight up just picked each other, like told production that they picked each other, and we believe that.
They still
I
have to
don't-
go to see the other two because those two picked them.
They have to go, but who goes first is a production choice, and then it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of a big decision because it once they decide that it bases how they're gonna edit the season around like which one of the two of them was more
Yeah.
undecisive about picking them each other. So
Yeah.
ultimately they decide that Hidu will go last, and that's partially why I think it's felt like Nayan's decided and Hidu's more on the fence. It's because
yeah.
it's because
Mhm.
that's just how this final part of the show went.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nayan didn't know that Hidu would be getting in the car. So she
She actually says out loud, like, "Should I let him in?" Like,
yeah, because
and
she
apparently, I guess this is her actual car because, like,
I don't know about that, but she definitely has been.
no,
using
it definitely is because
really?
she's like, he gets in and she's like, "Oh yeah, push the preset there, and it'll change your seat to how you like it." Because I never overwrote your
Oh.
preset.
It could still be the rental or whatever they got, but yeah, I see your point.
No. Like, because of the preset, like she talks about, like, I have never overwritten how you like to sit in the car.
Oh, you choose to interpret it that
Like
way.
from like when they were dating
Oh,
before.
or he just like set up a preset when they got to Jeju because they arrived.
But
together,
she didn't
right?
drive him anywhere.
She didn't drive in Jeju. Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah. Why is her actual car here?
I don't know. It's weird.
They ferried it to the island.
I think 100% so that way Hidu could get in the car and be like, "Why is this shit so messy?" But like she quick tidies
was
up
like,
before he gets in the
we
car.
need Nayan's messy ass car as part of
Exactly.
the show.
They're like, if they don't fight on their own, we'll bring in the car. It's ridiculous.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's definitely possible. Yeah, so her car's a mess. Seems like maybe this might be normal. And then she knows that Hidu doesn't like
Hates
that her
a messy
car's
car.
so she's like pushing, she's like getting stuff out of the passenger seat of the car so that Hidu can even sit in the car. Okay. And then this whole situation is different because again, like they don't talk. The show does not show them talking for any amount of time before they get texts.
I feel like Nayan was strategically not trying to talk too much because if they talk too much, they will fight. You know, like just like let's just not talk, and then we can be pleasant and pick each other and feel like that was a good choice.
Maybe. Yeah. So they both get a text saying that like
someone wants to ask out Nayan, so they have to go.
But I feel like I knew because we know who people are picking, but I feel like they knew that both of them had at least somebody waiting for them in this moment. At least we could tell because they both got texts, which was not normal.
But I thought they both got texts about Nayan specifically.
You might be right
just
about
because
that.
that's the next step. Or at least that's the only thing that was translated, so it might be, that's always an issue with what they decide to translate for us.
You might be right about that, but why wouldn't I don't know why they texted Hidu. Like they could have just texted Nayan and be like, your ex has somebody waiting for them. Drive them to this location. But for some reason Hidu got a text too. I feel like Hidu got a text saying that Nayan had somebody right away. But then they ended up
because first they're going to Nayan.
Sorry, I mean
so they
both whatever. Like they could have just texted one person or only texted Nayan because she was driving, but for some reason in this scenario they showed both people getting a text. I don't know why. Yes, they leave right away, it seems. not they don't talk much. You know,
Oh, he does.
what you would expect to happen.
Yeah, they talk about her driving for a while and like meaningless shit, but then at some point he actually says, I acknowledge that to some extent, compared to how I talk with other people here, I am not nice with you. Like the backflips this like he's on the national hockey team. He should be on the national acrobatics team with like how much backbending he had to do to like make himself say this sentence. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so I didn't actually see it like that, but I think that's a fair interpretation. I didn't particularly write down anything because it's just like more of the same stuff between them. That is a thing though. Like I wonder, it's very possible that production in like the 11th hour was like, so he do. Like you're a big character on this show, and at the end of the show, I think we want people to like you.
They coach him to pretending to be a better person for a little while.
Exactly, it's definitely possible.
Yeah, that seems likely.
This happens on Big Brother. It definitely happens on Big Brother. Like there are times in Big Brother where somebody says something like on the live feeds that are like, that's not great. And then like the live feeds go down, and then like hours later they'll come back up, and it's like right as like they're having a conversation with somebody and they're like apologizing for what they said.
Yeah. So, there are like a couple things he says in here that makes it feel like he suddenly realized that people will see this and judge him based on his actions and words, and that maybe he should change his whole fucking situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally buy that.
Okay. I'm down to believe that. Why not? Or he's like, it's either that or he has been more self-aware the whole time, and then every time he shows an ounce of self-awareness, it was edited out because they didn't want to show it till the end or something. I don't know. But
oof.
But what we're saying seems more likely than
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says the way what I wrote down is like he's admitting that he holds Nyan to a higher standard than everybody else, and that's why he thinks he
is a total asshat to her all the time.
When she makes mistakes, he makes a big deal out of it. When other people don't, yeah, that was the way he was willing to admit. And I think like Nyan like sets it up like that for him a little bit, where because again, like she's already picked him, we think, and she's going into this conversation like being very willing to compromise because
yeah.
So she kind of sets it up like, oh yeah, I get that you hold me to a higher standard, and that's why. So, and then he kind of like, yeah, he uses that, but he also says the stuff you were saying. Okay. Yeah, so they arrive to Guman, and then Guman gets Nyan's number to call her.
Yeah.
She answers on speakerphone. That was a choice.
This was right before she answered, I'm like, how fucking great would it be if this was on speakerphone right now? And then it was. I was so pleased.
I don't know if she accidentally had it on speakerphone and then had to turn it off, or she like
I think it was an accident,
didn't realize how awkward it was going to be. Didn't realize what was going on until...
I think it was just because it is her car. It's naturally set up that way, and she just forgot about it, you know?
In my head, she was like, ooh, Guman, that's fun. And then she like put it on speakerphone. It's like, hey, I'm here with Hidu. I was like, oh, wait, this is part of the show. Crap, I'll turn it off. Yeah. They continue to have they basically, well, I guess they get to some stuff eventually, but I wrote down, they have a super awkward conversation about nothing. At some point, Nyan just says, I'm hungry.
Yep.
As in something you say when you ran out of things to say.
Yes. But she does tell Guman that she is, and this is after Hidu gets out of the car. She tells him that she's too scared to open the door, and she doesn't think she's ready to let go of her bullshit relationship with Hidu.
Yeah, but she means Hidu, right? Yeah, okay. Guman does try to like bait her out of the car. He's like,
pretty good.
He's like, oh, I finally have those photos from our first date together, and I went through them, and I picked out some ones that I really think you look good in, and you can come see them if you get out of the car. As dumb as that was, I appreciated the effort. Like nobody else said anything interesting on these phone calls, I think, but that was like, okay, he's trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually Nyan has to choose, and she chooses Hidu, and she stays in the car.
Yup.
And then, oh, this was great. Hidu's still outside the car, so he doesn't know like when she hung up the phone or anything. Human like yells out the window. He's like, Hidu, you can get back in the car now. And Hidu's actually like super courteous to this whole thing. He's like, oh, are you done? Are you guys done talking? He's like, yeah, we're done. You can get back in the car. And then he opens the door of the car and he like makes sure before he gets in the car. He's like, are you guys done talking? It might be a little bit like he just doesn't want to hear it. Like less than like, oh, he's realized like he was intruding. But I appreciate that Hidu got out of the car because everybody else just kind of like sat there.
Yeah.
It was really
definitely
awkward.
the better choice.
I don't know if I like in that moment I would have been, if I was on the show, I feel like I'd be like, I can't believe this is happening. I might not even think about getting out of the car, honestly. So. But after seeing Hidu do it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's the move. Let's get out of the car. Hidu seems shocked by Nyan's decision. That's what I don't know.
How is he shocked? Like, she's been saying it for like a week at least.
Yeah, but she was
being
like,
very open that she wants to get back together.
I don't know. Nyan was weird though at the end. Like, and like they had that whole thing where they told each other to not pick each other, like literally yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
And Nyan like was still coming at him with the like, you need to change stuff, even when we know that she was like upset and jealous that he was with Ji Young. But like to him, it like I could see from his point of view, like being very confused about whatever Nyan is doing, because I personally think it's confusing.
And I mean, like, to add to that, when they're driving away, Nyan is just kind of talking, and she's like, people might say I made a dumb decision because, like, I think she calls him a bad man and says that he treats her badly.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're right. I do think you made a dumb decision, and he is bad, and he does treat you badly. And yet here we are. But yeah, so Hidu has to listen to that in the car, and I feel like that probably does not help his confused state right now.
Yeah. I'm very curious in the alternate timeline where Hidu has to choose first. I'm very curious, actually, what the decision would have been. As much as I'm Team Human over Team Heian, like I said before, to show you how much I don't like Human still, like, I definitely got joy out of
him getting rejected,
not picking Human in the end. I felt some happiness in that moment.
Oh, and then there are all those like his confessional times where he's just crying about like how he would have done things different. He shouldn't have like been so mean to Heian or whatever. Yeah, that's like peak just enjoying him dealing with the consequences of his own actions. If you know. Yeah.
But that also made me think, like, question whether or not, this man did not benefit from this experience, as far as I know. Now he was the one that chose to be on the show, so maybe he ultimately wasn't over Heian, and maybe his true goal, and this would kind of make more sense, is that like he was trying to get over Heian the whole time, and he was purposefully being cold to her or his own selfish reasons, and even though and he chose to frame it, this actually makes a lot more sense, honestly, than what they say. Like he's trying to frame it as like, oh, he's trying to do it for Heian, but he's really doing it for himself.
Mm-hmm.
But like ultimately, if he was trying to get over Heian, like clearly it didn't work. Like he's
feels like it backfired.
If you go on the show and you don't get over your ex and you don't end up with your ex, you lost. That's how you lose the show.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
100% how you lose the show. You can win the show by getting over your ex or getting back with your ex. Those are two ways you win.
To be fair, you can still lose by getting back with your ex if your ex is Hidu. Like, come on. I feel like Nyan still lost.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective. But what I'm saying is, like, even if like Nyan got out of the car and picked Human, I still think Human lost the show because he's not over his ex. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, time to go see Ji Young.
Poor girl. Been waiting here for 6 million hours.
Yeah, I didn't write down the exact line, but I said, despite picking him, Nyan continues to talk about how terrible he has been to her. And not in a confessional, like to his face, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Just in the car. It's almost like she's not talking to him. She's just talking out loud about how maybe she's regretting all this. Like, she doesn't frame it like that. But to me, I'm like, are you just regretting that you made this choice? And I don't know, you need to talk through it? Okay.
I respect it if she wasn't like that excited about Guman, ultimately.
Yeah, but I guess okay, this show does do a poor job of giving you the ultimate option of just leaving on your own. Like, I choose neither of these. I don't want this new guy. I don't want my ex. Fuck this noise. I'm going home.
I mean, I believe
I,
that I believe that Nyan, even with that option, would have picked Hidu.
yeah.
It is totally fair for Hidu to be super confused in this moment because, like, it's like, all right, you picked me. I wasn't expecting that. All right, you picked me, and you still think I'm terrible.
Well, I wonder if even like maybe even on an unconscious level, like she immediately regrets her choice and is like pushing him towards choosing Jian instead.
I don't think so. That's not how I read
Like
it.
maybe she's not aware of it, but she's just like
Oh, okay.
on some level, just like talking shit about him and in hopes that it pushes him. And I don't know.
Okay. Can we just do a reality check real fast about just
Okay.
just to be clear about what has happened on this TV show, okay?
Yeah.
So Wanbin apologizes too much.
Yes.
So much that it makes Jisoo feel like a bad person.
Yes.
And as a result of being apologetic too much, she breaks up with him. Right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And then we have another couple on the show.
Yep. Opposite end of the spectrum.
Hidu just straight up makes Nayeon feel bad about herself. With no apologies whatsoever. And
gaslights her, some, light verbal abuse every now and then. Yeah. Pretty bad situation.
And Nayeon chooses to be with Hidu at the end of the show.
Yep. Not great. Don't love it.
It's just if you're, a young person, I don't know, I like this show's probably related to like TV 15 or like something like that. Like you're a young person watching this show.
Please don't model any of your relationships after this.
From my perspective, you are not learning good life lessons from this TV
show. Nope, not at all.
Okay. Remember, bros, don't apologize for anything.
No.
And yeah, make sure when your woman messes up that she knows about it.
All women, run away. Just run far away.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
All right, so they arrive at Jian. And Hidu has to choose. And then at first I thought they weren't doing a Jian call, but eventually she does get the number. I was actually like, I was worried.
Yeah, it's not even like it's not even like Hidu and Nayeon are in like deep conversation about shit either. Like it's an awkward time where she's just like, whatever your decision is okay, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make you happy.
Like this is how I would expect these conversations to go. This would be a normal situation if they weren't picking each other.
Yeah.
But Haeun and Guman like talk for hours and they weren't picking each other.
Yep.
So weird. This is more evidence that they had no idea what was going on. This was actually super funny. Like the car rolls up and like you can't see who's in the car. So Jian is like getting excited, and then then she gets a text saying like, "Here's Hidu's number, call him." And she's like, "Oh, this is awesome! I'm gonna call like Hidu's in the car, and he's gonna call me. We're gonna have a phone call. This is gonna be great." And then she calls, and she's like, "Oh, Nayeon's in the car with you." Oh, she was so pumped. She was so pumped.
She waited 6 million hours for this.
She also like
sucks.
I think she was under the impression, and I think it's fair. Like I think was at the point, especially what happened last night. Like she thought Hidu was picking her. And
definitely.
I'm on board with that theory. Honestly.
So you think if he had chosen first, he would have gone with Jian?
I think so.
Okay.
It makes more sense to me with like it makes more sense like the crying by himself in the car makes more sense if he's decided not to pick Nayeon. And then how he was treating Nayeon after making that decision makes more sense if he's not picking Nayeon. And I'm not saying treating it as in like he was treating her bad. It was like he was actually like he was being reasonable. Like she was the one being jealous, and he was like. Then they told each other, "Okay, let's not pick each other." And he was like, "Okay, that's the end of the conversation." And then Nayeon was the one that wanted to keep fighting, and he was like, it seemed like he was good with whatever
Oh, well,
That's
that
how it
was actually
happened.
before. That was earlier, right? That didn't happen after this last date with Gion.
It happened. No, it happened after the date with Gion. It was like in the early morning or whatever.
That was before because we didn't get anything from Nyan after she came back at like 6 in the morning, right?
Yeah, that's when it was.
Or no, this was days before this or a day before this.
Oh well, he didn't.
Like,
Oh,
cause
sorry. He didn't cry about the final decision. Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah, because his
he
final
cried about
secret
the
date.
final decision after the secret date,
Yeah, which was
right?
yesterday. Yeah,
And then
or it was this
Nyan stayed
morning.
out till 6 in the morning.
Yeah,
And then the only interaction I thought we saw between them was in the morning. She was like trying to read a book and think to herself.
That
and
was
she
this
was just like,
episode.
yeah,
But
go away.
early,
yeah, that's what
early
I'm
in the
saying.
morning in the last episode when she got back is when she pulled him aside, right?
I thought it was the date before that. I don't remember now. Everything's running together.
I think it was last episode, but yeah. Regardless, I'm under the impression that Hidu, based on his actions, which people's actions and words haven't that I
don't frequently line up
and the
here,
way
yeah.
I've interpreted them do not seem to line up with how I think things are going to go or should go. But I really feel like Hidu texted production Ji Young and then just changed his mind. And I kind of hope that's the case because at least like okay, the show puts in this thing and it's real. Like you can actually switch.
Okay.
And kind of the awkwardness of it afterwards make me feel like he didn't initially pick Jian. Like he's like, I wasn't expecting to be holding your hand at the end of the day, and it's like really awkward how they're like holding hands.
Yep.
Yeah. And then there's this whole segment at the end, I feel like, where the show tries to explain Hidu's treatment of Nyan on the show and in like a nice way.
Yeah.
But like it's all framed in the context of like this is how he behaved on the show, and there was these X, Y, and Z reasons that he behaved that way on the show. But it's like we know based on what the
all
show
of their conversations,
like,
that
like
this is normal for him.
Yeah, this treatment was going on. Like they broke up 3 times already, and we've had specific scenarios described which echoed the same treatment or dynamic in the relationship that we saw on the show. So it wasn't really the show that is making Hidu behave the way he is. Whereas like you can give almost, if you give everybody a pass on how they treated and interacted with their ex on the show, I think actually everybody would be pretty clean slate good in terms of their behavior, except for Hidu. Because Hidu also treated like Ji Young in a similar way, which is more of a indication of his actual like personality as opposed to like the chaos that is this TV show.
Yeah.
But like Yuman never treated anybody bad besides Han. Han never treated anybody bad besides Yuman.
Besides Cumin, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much everybody. I would say like if I ignored how they interacted with their ex on the show, I probably wouldn't have like any bad feelings about anybody really. I'd be like, oh, they had some pleasant interactions with new people they met. The way that like that's what you would expect. Like you're not gonna meet a stranger and then treat them like shit, basically.
But yeah, there are people on the show who manage to go the whole time and not treat their ex poorly. And so like I don't know that I feel the need to discount anybody.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Their ex poorly on this show. So
like this is the thing on like you go like all these reality shows. I mean, not all, some of them more than others, but like even like Survivor or Big Brother or like whatever you go on, like the point of the show, Survivor is a great example. Like, the point of the show is like to take you like to the brink of like starvation, and then also force you to make really, really tough decisions while your body is like a state of crisis, basically.
Yeah.
And whoever you are as a person, deep down is going to come out. And it will be filmed, and if it's good content, it will be on the show.
Yeah.
But like ultimately, you could go back to your normal lives after the show, and like anything you did, anything that came up, like you can just go back to your job and whatever face you put on to do your daily lives. Like you don't have to be the person you are when you're on these TV shows.
Except now everybody knows about.
But like there is still something that like, oh, this is how you are deep down. Like it doesn't mean like if I worked in the same office as Heian, like like we can get along and do our jobs and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think it's meaningful to see people how people are at their worst, and I think that means something.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're gonna have a serious relationship with somebody and you've seen what they are at their worst, like if it's bad, you better just hope it never gets they never get to that point. But you know, I mean, life's not always great, no matter who you are. So there's gonna be
Yeah,
some
yeah.
somebody's you're gonna get to a
You
bad
want to pick
point
the
at
people
some
who
point.
can handle
So,
the stressful situations.
yeah. So yeah, I don't want to minimize it either. But I acknowledge, like, just because you behave a certain way on a reality TV show, it doesn't fully reflect how you would behave in real life.
Yeah.
But all right, did we finish this up?
But yeah, he hangs up. He basically just tells Nyan, like, let's go. And then there's 40 more minutes of the show for some reason. I was very confused.
This episode has a lot of like flashback montages.
And we get to see post-show dates of Haeun and Hyungyu together, Nyan and Tae together, and Nyan and Hidu together. So at the conclusion of the show, they are all continuing to go on dates or whatever.
You think these are like post-show dates, but they're a little staged, like.
Oh yeah. They had a camera person with them.
It's like you know how they have that footage of like Jisoo and Wonbin in like the forest. It's like,
Yeah.
when did they film that?
It's a little bit like that.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't really mean anything, but they put together a montage of them interacting on dates that we haven't seen, which are they're probably filmed after the show.
But there is also like some Instagram-esque content of like, oh, they went to this, especially specifically with Nyan and Tae, they went to like some art festival or something, like way after the show. Like it's to indicate that they're still a couple as far as the show knows when it's finished.
Yeah, what do I have in my notes after the after decision? They all go back to the house. Basically, that was we just already said that, but it was like super weird to see. Actually, that's like it's almost like behind the scenes footage at that point. It's awkward, but like everyone is like very happy. Like I honestly like once the show was over, I think these people like it was like a
super relieved,
a great weight off their shoulders. Like
absolutely.
I don't know. By the end of this show, I don't know how many people were like really having a great time. They were so happy that it was done. Which is probably true about a lot of reality TV shows, honestly. But,
definitely.
Yeah, Hyungyu hangs out with his ex-girlfriend and his new girlfriend in his room.
Yes.
That was interesting. Okay.
Yes.
This is when we get Haeun's untold story about the necklace. Tae and Nan are still really cute together. Like whatever this extra date we saw with them, like despite my skepticism of especially Nan's contribution to this relationship, I am rooting for this. Like they're so cute together that like it's actually just fun to watch. I'm willing to look past some of the things that I've said just to be like, I hope this works out. I want this to be a thing. And honestly, all the couples have a cute montage.
Yeah.
And then we get the Where Are They Now segment, which is very short.
Yeah. This is what I meant when they have like the Instagram sort of stuff and the extra.
Yeah, this segment is so short that like the hosts weren't even sure if it was going to happen or not. Like I don't know what happened in season 1, but they were like, I hope we get the Where Are They Now, but we don't always get it. So they were just like hoping it would happen, but they weren't sure if it was going to happen. This is what he said. Tae and Nyan, it says they throw up like a photo boot pictures of them, and it says in September the two went to an art fair.
Yeah. Went on a date.
So I don't know when the show finished versus when September was. But I wrote, so maybe not seriously dating. If the best the show could say was they did go on a date after the show was over.
Yeah.
But then Haeun and Hyungyu, they had a lot of pictures of them. It doesn't say anything in the subtitles, but the hosts had like a huge reaction of like, oh my god, look at all these pictures. They must have gone on like a million dates.
Yeah.
But again, like I didn't know how seriously to take that, but it sounds like they actually are dating. Yep. Okay.
They
and then
that seems to be the consensus on the internet.
And then Hidu and Nyan, they don't mention them at all.
Don't they get any pictures afterwards?
Not in the Where Are They Now segment, unless they did them first and I missed it.
I thought they did.
Okay. I thought they did like the
Yeah.
like, oh, here's like a stage date that they're going on for some fun montage, but I didn't see the pictures part. I could be wrong. But okay, give me the updates. Where are we at with this, sir?
Okay, so according to this Reddit thread from 6 months ago,
Okay.
people think Nayeon and Hedo are still together.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's what I would have thought that. Like I think these two are just, they're stuck with each other at this point.
I hate it.
If this TV show couldn't get them to break up.
Fair,
what
fair.
will?
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but then when I thought I missed, maybe I missed it, but I thought I didn't see anything in the episode about them, and I was like, oh, they didn't show anything. That's weird. But okay, that makes more sense to me though if they're still together. Like honestly, if you had asked me before you told me what are the two most likely relationships to be happening, still going on right now, I would have said Hedo and Nayeon number 1, and then I would have said Haeun and Gyumin number 2.
Okay.
So I am actually surprised that Han and Hyungyu are still together. What about Tae and Nayeon, Sarah?
So again, the same Reddit thread it says that they went on some dates, but they aren't dating anymore. And at least at the time of this post, Tae was rumored to be dating an influencer. So I don't know. Maybe it all worked out for Tae in the end.
That's good. No, that also seemed right. So the Han Hyungyu thing that surprises me. All right.
Yeah, people on the internet are all about that relationship. Like, there's a lot of fan accounts that I ran across.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, it's almost like if you remove the whole X aspects of it, like it's similar to like Mingyu and Yisu for me at least, from Heart Signal, where like I don't really get it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why they became a thing. Like on this show, it's like there's so much craziness with X's that like I got that. I understood like, oh, I understand why like Han would appreciate this affection she's getting.
Yeah.
And Hyungyu like doesn't have enough time to really switch his decision.
Yeah.
But can we just call it what it is? Like the only thing that makes sense to me is that they just both think each other are hot, and that's like
okay, but that like usually only gets you so far. The fact that they're still together, they probably figured some shit out.
But I'm just saying, like, for me to really, when I watch these shows, for me to like actually feel something about a relationship, it has to be more than just we think each other are hot. Like that doesn't really do it for me. Now if somebody put in the extra effort to like follow them on their social medias and see if they're together and then see what they're doing, and then that might become a whole thing that you could sink your teeth into. But just watching the show, like I didn't feel like like it didn't feel like this relationship was based on anything meaningful.
Hey, there are lots of relationships just out in the real world that are not based on anything meaningful, Happens all the time.
I mean, probably a good amount of people that start dating, like they're not based on anything meaningful either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like if you date somebody from like a dating app, it's largely like you're looking at the photos. Like you could look at the other stuff, but I think a lot of people mostly look at photos. Or look at photos first and then go to the rest,
Yeah, that's the
normal.
Attraction is the like beginning part of the whole process. So like it makes sense.
Yeah. But don't tell me this hot guy. this one hot guy that Han saw made her get over Human. That's not a thing.
I mean,
no way. Eventually, but
not what happened.
Eventually, maybe not by the end of this TV show.
I don't know what else to tell you. She did not pick Human at the
I know,
end.
but that doesn't mean anything more than just like it's the correct decision to not pick Human.
But I don't know that anything we saw of Haeun through this whole show would make me think she would make the logical correct decision, So like it's a big fucking deal.
Maybe that's why I'm most shocked. It's just because nothing Haeun has done has made sense. So at that point I was like, well, of course she's gonna pick Human. That's what she does. And then she didn't do the thing that she was programmed to do in the last
Yeah.
Okay. what a ride this TV show was.
Yeah.
Last two episodes of this TV show were good. Like
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So I feel like the experience I think I would have liked to have on the show is like, I don't know how many episodes we were still enjoying the show for. Like maybe the first 12. Say like 12 episodes. Just give me like the cliff notes for the six episodes, like 13 through 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then just let me watch the show once the exes are allowed to date each other finally, because it's like it's really like, I don't think I would have missed much. I would have missed like Na-eun.
Yeah.
And like for Hyungyu, just tell me, oh, some hot guy showed up and he likes Haeun, and Haeun might like him back, and then I'll watch episode 19, and like I'm all caught up. I'm all caught up on what a Hyungyu is.
I liked seeing them on cute dates, though. You know, that's that beginning cute.
I did, but it like
stuff that you liked.
3% of what the show that was like the show out of the 6 episodes. It was like 20 minutes of cute dates with a lot of just making me not like the people on the show.
Yeah, I think my version of the cliff notes is show me your cutest dates, and then just tell me that Hidu and Nayeon fought the rest of the time. There we go. We're good.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
The cliff notes are basically like the dynamics between all the exes did not change. Oh, but like Jisoo, like Wanbin likes Jisoo now, and Jisoo like really doesn't want to get back with Wanbin. Like it's like really simple.
Yeah.
I mean, like ultimate, like I actually, the Jisoo Wanbin like fight or whatever when on their Jeju trip, I did actually think that was interesting. Like it wasn't all, it's not all bad. It's just like it was weighing on
cut out all the Hidu.
It was
Nayeon.
I guess that's what
fighting. Like that's what slowed everything down for me.
The show, it just feels like the show stalled out, and I was just getting the same. And I if you go back and listen to the podcast, at some point I was just like, will they just let the exes date each other already? And I don't know when I started saying that, but I feel like I was saying that for so many episodes. And ultimately that's what they do, and then that's when the show got good. So
yeah, at
least for me, that's when the show got good. So yeah. But yeah, great. I think this, like everybody was saying the whole time, like the show is a great story. It's a great beginning and build up and then the end, and then but that it like builds up to a point, and then you're just waiting for the end of the I just felt like I was waiting for the end of the show.
Act 2 is a little long.
Yeah.
It's really the problem.
Okay. All right, do you want to talk about casting?
Yes.
Yeah, so like I already kind of said, like I'm not sure what approach you're going to take to casting. But for me, like coming into the show, like I said, like I thought the show would just like going to be like other shows, and the exes were just like another option that were going to be there. That would be like an interesting twist. But really, it's like this show is about choosing your ex or not choosing your ex more than anything. And it's not about like the show did not put a lot of effort into like highlighting the couples that ended up that were not ex couples. Right?
Yeah.
Like even Haeun and Hyungyu, it's like I didn't get like anything from Hyungyu. It was just all through the context of Haeun's relationship with Yumin.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
And we didn't get, compared to every other couple on the show, like we did not get much from Tae and Naon.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's a shame.
The show, like now, okay, if I'm casting and I understand what the show is supposed to be, I'm gonna talk about this from that angle. Like, okay, this show is about finding people who are obsessed with their exes and seeing if they stay with them or do not stay with them. So that's how I'm gonna talk about the cast going forward.
So then we got to take it in couples, yeah?
Yeah.
Who's the first couple you want to talk about?
Are you gonna do it that way, or you like? We guess you can.
Yeah, we'll see.
See it. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
So let's do Tae and Jiyoung. But I broke it down by couples, but then you can also talk about the individuals.
Yeah.
I think Jiyoung is great. She still likes her ex to start the show, or I think I mean she still likes her ex at the end of the show. I think she's fun and flirty, and she gave us a lot of funny like Jiyoung bad detective segments.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think like if you put a young person on the show, like they have to be good. Like if you put a young person on the show and they're not good, like I think that's a real miss. Jimin on Heart Signal was also a good pick. I think when you're trying out the shows as the young person, you better like you're only getting on if you're good. So like clearly Jiyoung was good. Tae though. Despite what we think about Tae. Despite what we think about
we
Tae.
love Tae.
Despite what we think about Tae.
not the
maybe
strongest.
the
Although,
biggest casting done of the season.
no, wait. But with our original cast, with Yi-Hyun on there was some sparks flying immediately.
No, but again, that doesn't matter. They're not exes. It doesn't matter.
I guess that's true.
That's what I'm
But
saying. Like,
but you can only have Jiyeon if you have Tae. So I don't know.
oh
I
yeah,
also just want to change. I would fundamentally change the show also, but that's
I
a
mean,
different conversation.
yeah. I mean, the show is made for people that it's a different product. It's a different product than Heart Signal. Like I assumed it was going to be similar. It's not. It's a different show. And I mean, Heart Signal is Heart Signal. I don't need another show. I don't need a version of Heart Signal where there are exes in the house. Ultimately,
Yeah, okay.
like I'd rather just like if I'm the person that likes Heart Signal is going to be the better version of that show ultimately, right? Like
yeah.
So it does make sense. Like if you're gonna do this, make it about something different than what Heart Signal's about. This show is about really focusing on the X aspect of this, not the what fun new couples do we get from this. It's yeah.
But if you want Jiyeon, then you have to have Tae. Like, that's how this whole situation works. So I think that's why you do need somebody like a Yi-Hyun on the cast, even if it's not about them getting together or whatever, like where he has somebody to work off of. Because he spent so long on the show just not doing anything and not being interested in Jiyeon, and so that's not compelling either.
I mean, you have to cast people who are also like attractive and desirable to people that are not their ex. But like I mean, unless you're just like God tier, I know exactly how people will match up. Like, I mean, if you're like, okay, we have Jiyoung, and then we have to have Tae, and then okay, here's somebody that Tae will like. I don't think they're going to that extent. It's just like Tae's.
You don't think they're worried about like how all the like getting the right interactions of people together? Like, I think there's totally gonna be a like.
I don't think so.
I could see these two together, and
no, like ultimately just put like. I mean, maybe they're doing like the MBTI thing because there was like nobody was the exact same MBTI for a while, or there wasn't much.
Yeah, that was the thing.
But I don't know if that ultimately is like good or bad for making people match. But I just think like put people that are relatively the same age, all like meet some level of attractiveness, right? That they're deemed to seem attractive. Like they would be attractive, obviously. And then I think the most important aspect is just you are still hung up on your ex. And because what the show does is they make you date other people.
Yeah.
And I guess both people can't be like so hung up on their ex that both people the only thing they want to do is get back together. Like they have to be like, oh, I definitely think about my ex all the time. And at least they are telling themselves they want to see like meet other people.
Yeah.
But I think the most important aspect is that you're into your ex, and they want you to be into your ex like the entire show. They want that option to be a storyline in the show as long as possible.
Yeah.
Which is why they don't allow you to date your ex until the very end, pretty much. Other than like. I don't know. In the beginning, like, could they have randomly picked their ex? But it seemed like they could have randomly picked their ex in the beginning, but they just didn't. So I don't know if production did anything to manipulate that or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so I think Tae ultimately is like a casting dud from that standpoint. Like we love him, but like I don't think production ultimately got what they wanted of Tae. Like. In a perfect world, Tae might choose Naon in the end, but he still like really thinks about Jiyoung, and he did what we would do, and as soon as Jiyoung was like behaving in a way that was like a red flag or was a way like, oh, now that I've seen you like this, I can't date you and not think about that conversation we had. So like it's pretty much just over. And because he was willing to just like flip a switch like that, ultimately I don't think that's what they're looking for on this show. And I think we see that just because he's super under edited, even once he gets into a relation. Like at first he just wasn't in a relationship on the show, but ultimately he gets into a very cute relationship and is still under edited. I just think like if you're not still thinking about your ex, the production loses interest in you on the show. Ultimately, I don't think he's the biggest casting dud though in terms of At least
Okay.
in terms of hindsight, at least.
Who would you say that is?
Okay, let's go to Wanbin and Jisoo then.
Okay, okay.
Wanbin and Jisoo. So like with them, I actually think like if I was production, I would have thought that this was a good casting
Yeah.
because it doesn't seem like their breakup was that significant.
Yeah, you'd think they could get over that and get back together, and like
It seems like it's just a
she
military
expressed
breakup.
interest in him, when they're doing the pre-interview stuff, and
Yeah.
it seemed like he was like, "Ah, I never want to see her again," but we didn't really necessarily believe him.
Yeah.
And I think like they almost had an interesting arc of like she was into him and then he wasn't, and so she shut it down, and then like his interest swung up at the end. But because they also weren't interacting or dating with anybody else, they just became a nothing storyline.
Yeah.
If they had been like actually successfully dating other people, then maybe that whole shifting who is into who at whatever time could have played out a little differently.
It's like I feel like on paper they should have been a couple looking to get back together. But if you want to take the like hindsight 2020 approach, like Jisoo is
Mm-hmm.
actually the biggest casting dud on the show because like she decided 100% I'm not getting back with my ex at some point. Like there was no going back and nobody was interested in her. But again, like I
Yeah.
like Jisoo on the show. Like
Yeah,
these
absolutely.
my two favorite characters are the ones that the casting would probably swap out if they could.
Well, the problem is, like, a big part of it is, like, super reasonable people are not good for production's goals,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You could look at it that way.
Which
It's being
kind of
reasonable,
sucks.
but yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm not gonna say like anybody that's ever been hung up on their ex is unreasonable.
But I just mean, like, those who are being more unreasonable have the more explosive behavior. Like we're gonna get to Nayeon and Hidu. Excellent casting choice, but I hate it because that's not the kind of TV I would want to foster,
Yeah.
But it's great for exciting moments in television.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think like, is there a way to cast two people that are two like a couple that is definitely still into each other, but they're also not gonna be mean to each other? Do we have an example of that? I mean, so the example that we have is Youngwoo and Naon, but there's a reason
Mhm.
that they were maybe a replacement couple on the
Yeah.
season. They didn't actually make the final casting because the production thought at least that the other people were better options, I think.
And like if Jisoo hadn't decided that she was out on Wonbin and she was, they'd gotten together at the point where his interest peaked again, like I still feel like we would not have seen much of them in the rest of the show. They would have gotten together and then the show would be like, okay, well, you're just having a nice time being cute, I guess. Whatever. I don't care anymore.
Because
So
nobody's interested in them outside of
yeah.
them. That's true. Yeah, I don't know if like maybe the mistake with Jisoo and Wanbin is that like I don't know where they are they I don't really know like what is deemed to be attractive and not attractive or like meet some threshold of attractiveness or something, but there was something at least about Jisoo and Wanbin that it seemed like they were not getting.
Well, they were
as much
both on the
attention.
younger side of everybody, right? Like they were just a year or two older than Jiyeon.
Oh, just a year older than Jiyoung. No, I think it was more
Like
than
a
that.
year or two, something like
Jiyoung
that.
is like 20 in like
Oh, is she 20?
actual years. I think she was very young.
Okay,
I think
okay,
Jisoo and
maybe.
Wanbin are like
They were the
I-
next youngest, yeah, or old.
they might have
yeah,
been like
whatever.
26 Korean, which could be like 24 or something, or 25.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's. I mean, I would find it hard for like to predict like, oh, this person's gonna think this person's physically attractive or whatever. Like I don't know how I would know that if I was production. Like maybe they have some sort of.
I
test
think
for
in
it.
Korea you would know
You would
because like
know?
there is a like there is a very clear like Korean standard of beauty. Like everybody knows who's hot and like what features are attractive. So I think that's like an easier bar to like figure out.
I'm saying for like a specific person. Like, did they know? Like, I don't think they knew. Like, oh, nobody on the show is gonna be that into Wanbin and Jisoo. You know what I mean? It could just be bad luck.
I think for like that to be true, they would have to be like deviated from that standard of beauty, and you know what I mean? Like the closer you get to that standard of beauty, the more like universal everybody you can pretty much guarantee are gonna like that person is what I'm saying. So like
Okay, I mean, I don't know what that standard is. Are you saying that they don't or they do meet that standard?
I don't know the details of the standard. I
Okay.
just know that there is one. It's a
Okay.
thing. I just feel like it would be like easier to cast a bunch of people you could generally feel are going to be universally hot. But
Okay.
I don't know. And also, there are the mechanics of casting this show, like just finding people who even want to be on a show with their
Oh
ex
yeah,
or whatever
it's way
has to make it
harder.
extra
It's way harder.
complicated.
The question is like, if production could do this over again, like would they swap out Naeun and Hyungyu for Wanbin and Jisoo?
I don't know, the timing of them when they showed up worked out pretty well.
In terms of the hay and stuff or whatever, yeah. But
In terms of the hay and stuff, in terms of the Tae stuff, you get that sort of underdog story. Not that they latched onto it a lot, but you know, he spent so much time alone and then suddenly boom. I don't know. I just feel like you don't get any impact from Jisoo and Wanbin showing up later.
yeah, but the scenario I'm talking about is Nan and Hyungyu are on the show instead of Wanbin and Jisoo, and then like Yi Hyun and what's his face like never leave, you know.
Oh, okay.
And like they're a whole thing on the show as well. So I feel like they ultimately don't get they get almost nothing out of Wanbin and Jisoo, and then like Nan and Hyungyu just had to have been better. That's how I
Yeah.
feel.
But all the plants would have died because Wanbin
Yeah,
had to be
and then they
around to
all
water
would have
everything.
been kicked off the show because that
Exactly.
breaking the rules. Yeah. So, like I think Jisoo is attractive. Like I can say that.
hmm
Like personality wise, though, I feel like Wanbin is somebody that does not normally do well on these shows.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
but then Hyungyu has like a very similar personality from what I could tell, but I guess he's hotter. Like I don't know.
Well, he also comes in with those bold moves of like calling Heian Nuna all the time.
That's
like
true.
He comes in and is very
Yeah, he's
direct.
not exactly like Wanbin in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, Wanbin is not the direct person.
Yeah, he wasn't really Wanbin until like I saw he interacted with Naon, but maybe that's not really his. Yeah, and who knows? Like if somebody who knows, like does Wanbin become a totally different person if somebody just decides to like him? Like Heian just got lucky that
Yeah.
Hyungyu came on the show and just started liking him. But like if Wanbin if Naon picks Wanbin in the beginning instead of Tae, like has Wanbin become a more attractive character at that point? I don't know. Would we have liked
Maybe.
Wanbin even more after that? I don't know.
Hard to say.
I don't know. But individually, like, yeah, I think Jisoo ends up being probably the biggest dud of the season from a production perspective. I like her. Her logic
I
for
like her
why
too.
she like wants to break up with Wanbin is like really hard to understand for me personally. Without knowing like the very specific things that like Wanbin is apologizing for. But like, so like I get like if you interviewed Jisoo and I don't even know if she explained it like this at the time or if this is like a explanation she came up with throughout the show, but she's like explaining to me, oh yeah, like he went to the military and I broke up with him. He also like apologized a lot, which I didn't really like. Like I'd be interviewing her and be like, oh yeah, you're definitely still into your ex. I'm gonna put you on the show. Like that's
Yeah.
like I get why they were casted, but ultimately it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I think Wanbin is good casting. I think they did a good job with Wanbin because he did, as I thought he would from early on in the show, he did eventually get back to liking Jisoo in the end, which is
Yeah.
I think what they are looking for.
Yep.
So probably I would say like ultimately like the worst casting from a production standpoint is probably Jisoo and then Tae.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I'll talk about Na On and Hyungyu.
Yeah.
I'm super interested to know how things would have gone if they were there from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like
that
I
would've been
see
interesting.
like I see the hints that like I see why if they were a replacement on the show, like I see why they were in the running to be on the show
Mhm.
because like I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like there are signals and signs that change up the circumstances a little bit, and yeah, they'd be looking at each
Yeah.
other.
Maybe, just maybe. Yeah.
But ultimately, like if production didn't choose them as initially on the show, at least the production must have thought, oh, they're less likely to want to get back
Yeah.
together
They
than the
they
other
convinced
couples.
production that they're good friends.
Yeah, at least a little bit more likely to just want to be friends than the other people on the show that made the show from the beginning. But like, yeah, I think production might have even been happier. Now you lose Ji Young, and that's tough. But could Na-eun and Hyung Yu have replaced Tae and Ji Young from the beginning, and that maybe would have been better. At least create more. I don't know. It's only dependent on the Hyung Yu and Na-eun like having some sort of feelings about each other at some point, but we don't know if that would actually.
But I think like if you're doing an entirely 2020 view on this, like hindsight 2020 view on this, Hyung Yu is way more valuable as a component of the Haeun story than if there's a story of him getting back together with Na-eun.
Probably.
And I don't think that plays out in the Haeun story the same way if he's there from the beginning. Because it's like she needed to be very upset about Gyumin for enough time before she was finally like close to being able to like look at anybody else. And so I think if he was there from the beginning, I don't know that it would have worked out the same. And he wouldn't have had to like double down on her so much because he would have been there for a while and had options and time to date other women in the house. So
I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it wouldn't be the same, but so Haeun's still a game changer in this scenario. And like she's like ultimately just like I don't think the show really cares. I mean, they like that Haeun had another option, but ultimately they don't care about Haeun and Hyung Yu. It's more about Haeun and how she feels like Gyumin. Like Gyumin is like Haeun is still gonna behave the same way because she's coming in late to the house, right? And Gyumin's gonna have this thing with whoever he's gonna have a thing with. Like they're not letting her in the house until Gyumin has a thing with somebody else.
Yeah. But in that case, Gyumin's still not picking Haeun at the end. And so they're still not getting back together. And so I think it's more compelling when she starts to have another option.
But you don't think Hyung Yu would be an option for her if he was in the house from the beginning?
I think if he went for her as soon as she showed up, she wouldn't be ready for it. And he would have had all that time for other options to be at play. And so like the reason he comes for her so hard is because he only has like 4 days on the fucking show. And I don't think that happens if he shows up earlier.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, you could get different content that could be better, but yeah. I mean, if you're specifically talking about knowing exactly how it would work out, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. If we're doing a hindsight of 2020 situation, wouldn't change when that boy shows up at all.
Maybe you don't necessarily need Haeun's full arc story if Na-eun and Hyung Yu are giving you other content along the way, I guess is what
I just don't think it would be as compelling as this whole potential of her actually like moving on and
yeah. I mean that's
and
true.
Especially like given that she and Hyung Yu are like the most popular people coming out of this show. I think that story was really appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah, I bet those same people though wish that Hyung Yu had gotten on the show sooner so they could have been more content. But
well, yeah, but that's assuming it would still work out that way. Yeah.
It wouldn't work out.
I don't think it would have worked out if he come up
likely
earlier.
To work out, but it's so crazy that it worked out to begin with. Like, how could him being in the house more make it less of a chance to work out? But okay,
because he could have dated other people. He would have had time to consider his options instead of go, "Oh, there's a hot one. Let me just tunnel vision in that direction."
Yeah, Na-eun. I think Na-eun was really fun to watch with Tae specifically.
Yeah.
I'm glad Tae found someone like Na-eun on the show. But ultimately, like, I don't know. Like both of them, like I don't feel like I really got to know them because they joined the show so late and they had very like it was like Na-eun and Tae and then Hyung Yu and Haeun, and they didn't really change me. Like Na-eun did some stuff with Gyumin, but it's like I wasn't rooting for her to do anything with Gyumin. Like that was like the worst. Like seeing Gyumin get yet another girl interested in him was like not what I wanted to see. So
but you did get that jealous ex interaction with Jiyeon like pointing her towards Gyumin so that way she was not dating Tae, which is theoretically something the show enjoys.
Yeah, I mean that could have happened with anybody, but yeah, I wish we had seen more from these two. Honestly, I think they would have been better than some of the other options that we got. Yeah, with Hyung Yu, I refuse to rule out the possibility that he is a production plant because now he's
a long running production plant.
Like he could be a production plant and it still worked out. Like that
Yeah,
that could still be a possibility, but it was just a little too perfect for the TV show.
yeah.
That like,
Yeah.
yeah, the character they knew would be most obsessed with their ex, who was in the state of being obsessed with their ex, and no one else was was interacting with her. The last guy who joins the show happens to unless maybe they're just gods and they had a bunch of backup people ready to go, and they were like, all right, bring us the couple with the guy that's gonna think Haeun is hot and put him on the show.
But he also has to not care about how obsessed she is with her ex.
Yeah, they're like, don't worry about that, he won't have a choice. He'll only have time to make one decision, and he won't be able to change. Also, Haeun has to think he's hot. Get me that guy.
That actually almost worked in not in his favor. He was too hot. She doesn't go for hot guys, remember?
Yeah, but she just says those words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, who do we got? Oh, Gyumin and Haeun.
I mean, obviously, they saw her cry at some point and went, "This is TV gold. Let's go."
Yeah, like Haeun is a 10 out of 10 casting on this show for this TV show with what they're looking for. Obsessed with her ex, she's a perfect game changer.
I don't know that she's a perfect game changer. It's just you need her to show up late so that way Gyumin has something already established. Like she didn't draw anybody.
That's
away.
what a game changer is on this show. Like, yeah, game changers are supposed to be like on the other shows. Are supposed to be like, okay, people are coupling up. This looks like things are happening, and then bam, hot person out of nowhere, and then now people are rethinking. I feel like even on other shows, it doesn't really work out that way.
Yeah,
like they always try to edit it to make it feel it's like.
Although Heart Signal, this last episode of season of Heart Signal.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that when we get to After Signal. And I haven't finished watching it. I still don't really fully get it, but I think we can definitely do. Yeah, we'll have in some way, shape, or form. We're gonna try to talk about why Mingyu made the decision he did.
Yeah,
and that ultimately is a factor. Just who did he think was more attractive physically? Yeah, Haeun is also somebody that production could just torture her and keep her away from her ex as long as possible.
Yep.
And she'll still be
still
be interested in him. That's like the key. The key to anybody that casts on the show is like, even if they spend time apart, they're still gonna be interested in each other. And then Gyumin, I feel like he really isn't. I don't know. I wrote in my notes he isn't what production's looking for, but after what we talked about on the podcast so far, like maybe they knew he was. Maybe the reality is like he actually was obsessed with Haeun, and then his way of handling that was what he did on the show.
Shut it down.
And then he just tells us this kind of made up thing where he was doing it as a way to be considerate to Haeun, but it's not really. So ultimately, maybe Gyumin is good casting too. I think he's like a little bland, like too bland of a person.
I also agree.
Okay.
But he is popular amongst the women on this show. Like, and so he is good from that standpoint in that he is causing a little chaos in the Hidu Nyan situation by her being attracted to him. That late stage situation, which didn't amount to much, but still. And then existing as a person for Jisoo to try to date at some point early on, but I don't know. I do think he is bland, but the women on the show seem to like him, so I don't know.
Yeah. People that like him though, like they just like that he's nice, right? Like like Gyumin, I guess.
Is that what it is?
Like why does Nyan and Jisoo like Gyumin? Like he's a nice guy, right? Like what like.
Well, I mean, like Jisoo was vibing with him early on. They had like some similar sense of humor, and they'd have breakfast together. Like they
yeah, him and Jisoo should have been a thing. I stand by that. Like that. Every good moment I feel like with Gyumin was like, oh look, they're doing like K-pop dances together or something. Yeah, I don't know. Gyumin and Jisoo ultimately should have been a thing. Yeah, but like Nyan's incident in Gyumin was like, you're the opposite of Hidu, but also let me just pick Hidu at the end anyways. Like Gyumin's niceness could not outweigh his blandness ultimately. I don't know. You're right though. He did get the most. He probably had the most girls interested in him at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Also, Hidu maybe also, but yeah, I mean, if Han and Guman show up for casting next season, if a Han Guman dynamic shows up, they're making the show.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Now, an even bigger lock for making the show, if you have this dynamic with your ex, is Nayeon and Hidu. These two, the Nayeon Hidus out there, you are just what this show is looking for.
And not what I am looking for. They're easily the part I hate the most about the show.
So like they are just they've already broken up and gotten back together multiple times. It's like, all right, that's just like the first thing on the resume.
Oh, yeah.
Like get these people
That's
in
what
here
production's looking for
right now. We need to talk to these people. How we got back together 4 times? Like you probably still want to get back together, right?
And they broke up only like 5 months ago, so it's still fresh.
Yeah, that could go either way, but there's probably like a balance where you don't want it to be too fresh, but also you don't want it to be like they forgot about it.
Well, you just look at the previous gaps in their relationship.
Oh, that's true.
And,
It's like,
you can tell. Like,
okay, so you took
what's
off
their normal cadence.
All right, so you took off 8 months between all your breakups. How long has it been since your last breakup?
Well, we could delay production by another month. It's fine.
We'll wait a little while. Okay. You guys are definitely on the show, but
don't talk to each other. See you in a month.
Yeah, I don't know. The show tried to paint it like Nayeon wasn't interested in Hidu from the beginning, but I think even Nayeon by the end is saying like, oh yeah, I was always looking at Hidu the entire time. So they were clearly like still interested in each other the whole show.
Yeah.
I think either of them could be a game changer in the sense of what it means on this show. I think it could have gone either way, but because they had Han already, Hidu ended up being the game changer. But I think their dynamic would have worked either direction. Yeah,
they're both prone to be jealous as hell.
Yeah.
So it's easy.
And you'd think there'd be a risk, like for us, we would think it'd be a risk, like, oh, if you put Hidu from the beginning, like nobody's gonna like him, so Nayeon's not gonna be jealous. But like clearly that's not the case. Like somebody would like him. Ultimately, like Hidu probably like I don't know about face, but like in terms of body, probably Hidu's like the most. At least from what we get to see, Hidu's probably the most attractive, like in the typical
He's
sense.
got a big build, and people call him manly or whatever, and so that's something people like.
He's an athlete, and he trains, and he's gonna look good. So ultimately, like, I think if Hidu came in early, at least one person would be into him, and Nayeon would have a reaction in a similar way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, these two would be casted every time. So now, like, if I watch, like, say I sat down and watched season 3 of the show, I wouldn't go into it assuming like there's going to be another Nayeon Hidu dynamic. At least from like you can be jealous, but you don't have to be Hidu. Like that's ultimately what it, like I would expect.
That is fair.
I expect massive amounts of jealousy from anybody they cast on the show. Like that's almost what they're looking for. So like potentially I might like another season of the show, but.
Yeah, if we can get people are jealous but not quite so fighty and mean and
mean,
then it would be better.
You can fight. It's not even like specifically fighting. It's kind of like what, like especially with Nayeon and Hidu, it's like what they were fighting about. It's just
the way they fought.
Yeah,
it's just so circular and annoying.
Yeah, I mean there were reasons for couples to be upset with each other on the show.
Yeah,
I just feel like those reasons weren't what was ever being argued about, or like maybe it was, but they weren't direct about it, so they just end up arguing about other things. Like Han should be Han's the number one thing I wanted Han to be like, yo, Guman, why the hell did you invite me on this show? You know? But then we found out from Guman's perspective, he thought like Han was acting in a way where he thought Han like didn't want him to be there. So like I don't know, it's weird.
It's a mess.
Yeah. The ending of the show is like so good though. Like I want to come up with a way to like watch season 3 of the show without having to really watch it. Maybe I just somebody else do a podcast about season 3 and I'll listen to that shit. Like honestly, the way that my sister chose to do this, like she hasn't watched the show, she just listened to our podcast.
Yeah.
And I mean, us talking about the Nayeon and Hidu stuff triggers her as well. But like, at least you didn't have to watch it.
You doesn't have to actually sit through the arguments.
You don't have to sit there and watch it. Like, and we talk about it a lot too. But yeah, maybe I'll just listen to somebody else's podcast about season 3. That sounds actually like a good time.
Okay. I don't think I saw anybody else podcasting about this season, but
Yeah, probably
maybe
not. I
somebody
mean,
will take up the mantle.
that's why people are out here listening to.
That's the only reason we have listeners.
Two Americans talk about Korean dating shows. At least we're the only ones that do it in English.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because then it like if I could go listen to like a Korean version of the podcast for this exact season, and they might make me feel like Hee-do and Nayeon are great, and I don't have to be the wiser and know that it's not true. I just be like, oh, that's so nice that they figured out how to get together in the end. But if you listen to us, if we have to watch it, you got to hear about it. So, yeah. All right. Still fun though. I'm glad it ended the way it did because like I was.
Yeah.
I'm
definitely came around.
Yeah, I'm ultimately glad we did this, but there was a period of time where I was like, I mean, I wasn't super excited about watching the next episodes, but
yeah.
After 18, I was like, okay, X is going on a date. Let's go at 19. And then I was watching 19, and then I was excited for 20. And then in the middle of 20, I was like, I can't believe I stopped watching. I can't believe I just stopped watching in the middle of episode 20. It was so good. It was so good though. But
amazing.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk about, Sarah?
I think we did it. We talked about it all, right? Is there anything left?
Trying to think. I think we're good. People let us know if we missed anything major. I think most of the crowd, like, we're not going to talk about this show again as an episode of the podcast, but I think most of the crowd that is going to listen to the After Signal podcast will have listened to this. So if you want to comment on what we said here, we'll bring it up in the After Signal podcast.
Yeah.
And if there's anything major we missed, it's hard to go. Like, I feel bad people leave such long comments, and it's like we already take it takes us like 20 minutes to get into the start of the start of the actual TV show we're here to talk about. So I can't. People leave really nice comments with thoughts on their opinions and stuff, and it's like we can't hit everything. So I know people are spending their time to make comments, and I want to acknowledge them, and so we'll do the best we can. We'll do the best we can in the After Signal episode if you want to comment on this one. But yeah, I'm good.
We did it. We made it.
All right. So next time we'll be talking about Heart Signal 4, the After Signal episodes of Heart Signal 4.
Yes.
Which is going to be
5 of them?
Yeah, I believe it's 5 episodes. I originally thought it was 6. Yeah, we were surprised back when we were recording Heart Signal where I thought there were 16 episodes, but the 16th episode ended up being episode 1 of After Signal. So at least as it is on Viki.com, which is where we watch it, like episodes 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 are the 5 episodes of Heart Signal 4, which are considered the After Signal TV show. If you're watching on a different site or whatever, maybe you have to search for the actual After Signal
not
show.
Sure how it's organized elsewhere.
But we are watching on a Viki where it is the last 5 episodes under the Heart Signal 4 title on that website. If anybody hasn't watched it. And yeah, they're all about 90 minutes. So we usually watch, Transit Love is like 3 hours for long.
Yeah.
And then our podcast tends to be longer than the actual show if you sat down and watched it. Usually.
This next episode is not going to be, what is the math on that?
After Signal, the entire
7.5 hours.
Yes, the entire show is roughly 7.5 hours. We are not going to sit down. First of all, I don't think a aftermath show is worth doing episode to episode in general. Also, we don't have the time for that. Well, actually, we could. Well, whatever. We're not going to do that before. We're not going to go episode by episode. So we're going to talk about the entire series, 5 episode series of After Signal, and it will not be a 7.5 hour plus podcast. So it's going to be a different format. I still think we can go kind of episode by episode and hit on the points that we think. Mostly, we're going to focus on, I think, things.
Figuring out what a Yisu is.
Figuring out what a Yisu is big. because that falls under the category of things we did not see on the TV show.
Yeah.
If we get to see things we did not see on the TV show, that's going to be a topic of discussion. Also, any of the dynamics of the couples after the show. So, like, actual new information about the couples and whether or not maybe there's couples that weren't coupled on the show, Sarah, that maybe might be couples now. That's a big teaser right in the beginning. Of the After Signal series. And then we get into their whole dynamics. And I feel like the show, I haven't watched it all, but so like in episode 1, they show us some dates theoretically that are happening between the couples that we know about. And they're roughly like a month after the show finished filming, I think. But I think as we go on the show, we're going to see dates that are 2 months after the show has been done filming or something like that. And it's going to progress. And maybe we'll get to a conclusion of where they're currently at. I'm not sure if we're going to get to a breakup potentially, or if, who knows, are they even together at all? Or they're just, maybe they're just doing it for a thing. We can speculate, do it for the show. We can speculate on that. And then, like I said, the fun part, which maybe it might be the least able to really comment on it, but like if you've already watched Heart Signal 4, like for me, watching the participants react while they watch the TV show is very fun to watch. I remember I think Singles Inferno put out like a couple of 30-minute YouTube videos of like the men and the women like watching the TV, like the entire series, but like in a montage of like the big reactions they had. And that was very fun to watch too. I don't know how interesting it's like. It's not that super interesting to podcast about, I don't think. But like, if you haven't checked out After Signal and you enjoyed Heart Signal 4, I do think it is going to be fun. And I've only watched the first 2 episodes, but I'm enjoying it. It's going to be rainbows and butterflies up in here, Sarah. That's what it's going to be.
Nice.
And maybe not if they break up by the end, but still, won't be as. I mean, hopefully it won't be as negative as some of the content in this show, at least.
Hey, as long as Hidu doesn't show up, we're good. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. All right. You good?
I'm good.
You excited about After Signal?
I am.
You got a lot of episodes. Yeah. You got a lot of content to watch.
Yeah, I think that's part of that's my weekend plans. Just gonna binge all that, I guess.
All right, Sarah. Where can people contact us?
People can email us at keepwatchingpod@gmail.com, tweet at us at keepwatchingpod, Instagram at us at keepwatchingpod, or leave a comment under the video on YouTube also at keepwatchingpod. And if any of you are as amazed as I am that we finally got to the end of this, you can leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Yes. Yeah.
Took a long time, but we're here. We did it.
And people can finally, I think for the most part, people did pretty good about hiding the end of the show. So they can finally comment without needing to hide the end of the show.
Yes.
Honestly, the Hidu Nyan rant guy on Twitter or whoever that was, that isn't an actual, I don't believe is an actual listener of the show.
Not an actual listener, but
was the biggest spoiler of the season for us.
Yeah.
On the Nyan Hidu stuff. I might have actually been really shocked at what Hidu chose, which is ultimately like kind of what the Twitter rant was about. I think like that guy must have just really thought Hidu wasn't picking Nyan and then somehow blamed or maybe he thinks Nyan also changed at the last second and somehow baited Hidu. I don't know. They're still together, right? So fucking
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget what the rant was about, but that was the biggest spoiler, I think. I tried to read in between the lines of some of the other commenters because I just can't not do that. But I think for the most part, people didn't full spoil.
Yeah, people were really good. But now, full permission. Spoil away in those comments right here.
Now you can tell us everything you've been thinking. All right, you good?
I'm good.
Alrighty. Thank you for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.